put your normal person skin suit on.
We have gone live, but it's not actually gone live yet.
Oh, I think it might.
I'm just going to give it a few minutes. Everybody in the chat, we're just waiting on it.
Oh.
I think that's it.
Oh, there's an ad. Everyone hearts spreadsheets. That's not true.
That doesn't even have the courtesy to delay us until after the thing.
Monday.com? What a terrible name.
Ugh.
Something everyone hates?
Look how quirky their marketing is, though. Holy sheet.
Ooh, do you love having all those animations in your worksheets? I would.
Thank you, Esky Monster and John Easterling and Sayers the Artist. We're on the pre-stream stream. We're not quite live yet. We're all saying hello.
We actually got things kind of together early today, which surprised all of us.
Yeah.
So we were like just sitting here for 10 minutes. We're like, we'll just go on and start.
There will be video in just a second. I guess we can switch.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Hey.
Woo! We're not getting started yet, though. We're getting started on time. Oh, Esky Monster is like, you gave us 60 DKK dollars.
Thank you.
Which is nice. Thank you.
Is Esky Monster actually of some sort of Polynesian native descent? Is that what that is? Eskimo?
I don't know.
It's a great username. Wow, there's a lot of ads on your...
Yeah. we don't always control that, but YouTube really likes to put ads on our channel. Sorry about that.
Jonathan Briggs gave us $5, and Stephen Hudak says, "Happy Monday." Thank you both. It's telling us that we really want to go solar. I'm gonna have to
Oh yeah, it's a solar ad.
This is just
a long ad.
We're not gonna
oh, there we are. That's us.
No, our ad is Linode.
This episode's sponsored by Linode. Here's your third ad.
$100 credit if you use our code on Linode to make things, make your own servers and whatever.
And I bet you'll get more out of that than you would that solar roof they're advertising.
Yes, by far. Oh, no,
You're not excited about Monday.com or whatever that ad was for? Actually, we probably shouldn't say anything about it because we're just giving them free advertising.
Not only that, but we got the news sort. Well, the stories are probably not in the same order, but there's a thread linked below that has all of the stories that we're going to cover over the next 2 to 3 hours.
Wait a minute. You put them all in the forum?
Yes, they're all.
Oh, okay. They're not
the
Google
doc.
Docs. Okay.
You know, I pre-sorted with one tabs.
Oh, you did.
You could have grabbed all those.
Oh, I didn't do that. They said we're just a little bit low. I can give you a little bit more volume. Let's hope this doesn't end badly.
It's just really crispy.
That's nearly double.
Yeah. Hopefully we don't blast you guys out.
Is that too much? Hopefully that's not too much.
You have 1 minute to respond.
The volume does indeed seem a little low, but at least the sound isn't all messed up anymore. So
see, I don't understand what was wrong with the sound.
It's going to take them a minute to catch up.
Yeah, YouTube's a little delayed.
Because I can definitely see that our levels are much higher than they were before.
Oh, look how good the closed captioning is live.
From Greenland Eskimo. Thank you.
Oh, cool.
I never considered that they had them too, but I guess geographically they would have to, right? Because all that was just smushed together at one point.
A lot of people saying it's a lot better for sound level.
That is perfect. Yeah, well, I'm just Vanessa says much better, so that's what we'll roll with, since that's where the initial complaint came from, I guess. Whatever.
And I think that is officially the time. What does your time say? On the laptop.
2 o'clock.
Oh.
Time to get rolling.
It's 2 p.m.
Let's get this
Eastern time.
Let's get this hype train departed from the station.
You can't say hype train because we're on YouTube and not Twitch right now.
Also, I don't think we're going to be hyped about a lot of these stories because to start out with, of course, we have government as usual. And we have a nice little dystopian government evil block.
Yes.
A nice collection of stories that should make you feel terrible and angry and want to maybe burn something, but don't do that.
But we can all do that together.
No, not the burning.
Well, collectively, we can reaffirm our own sanity by saying, does anybody else notice this insanity? They do? Great.
We're trying to make a fire and ice joke there.
Really? I didn't get that one at all. But it is ice and not the delicious drink cooling cubes that we're all accustomed to. No, it's the customs, immigration and customs. And we've had a lot of contentious headlines about them. We've learned that they use data brokers. Of course, if you've watched the Level 1 news, this won't be news to you, but I think it's news to a lot of normies. And they're not only pointing that out, but pointing out just how far it goes and how long it's been going that way.
ICE now operates as a domestic surveillance agency, think tank says. This is probably a good introduction, Immigrations and Customs Enforcement. For any of your friends that don't really understand like how the surveillance and business and government intersect, this is a great story to point them to, because it's not like ICE has a cajillion agents and that they're doing all this and that they're building, you know, the deep throat, you know, dark suit entity. They're just buying data on from commercial providers. They're using license plate scanner data because they have access to that. Facial recognition, things like Clearview AI, that's probably wrapped up in there, although this article doesn't mention that part of it. But it does talk about scanning vehicles and mobile traffic and ad tracking and demographics. So it turns out if you like certain Mexican grocery stores, for example, and you want to find out all the phones that were in a Mexican grocery store, and then you want to correlate that with phones, you can do that.
Now you might be thinking, well, I don't carry my phone. I'm an advanced operator. I know about those things and I avoid them. Well, how about this? DMV, do you have a driver's license? Utility companies, do you use power and water? Call records. Of course, if you don't have a phone, I guess you can get away with that. Child welfare records. Do you have kids? Well, they're spying on you.
Things get complicated when you want to enroll your kids in school.
Yeah.
Healthcare records, and of course, social media posts. That's one of the big ones. And they believe that they can track probably 70% of the adult population of this country.
Just a small, plucky little group of miscreants.
Who's the 30%? That's a high number of people who aren't being tracked.
Probably, they said the adult people. So probably like super old people who are so old that they just like fall through the cracks, right?
They don't have a cell phone or, yeah, maybe.
I'm pretty sure they're also excluding anybody that has enough money to cause trouble for them should they get swept up in something accidentally.
Although, you know, one way that you could avoid all of this is to go complete total, and not everybody has this option, but some people do, go total sugar baby. Don't register for anything. Just let someone take care of you and do it all for you. And then you never have to interact with anything that can have you tracked. But you do have to give up control to another human being, which, you know.
I'm pretty sure that's called human trafficking, and that already exists.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you traffic yourself, I think they still allow it. You make that arrangement.
It's not a great set of choices there, though. It's like,
And eventually when your sugar daddy passes away, are you in the will? Who knows?
If you play your cards right, you'll get the money, but then you do go back on the tracking. For
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I guess you got to keep cycling into a new one, right? You got to have the next one lined up.
Lined up as they're in the hospital, yeah.
And that's not enough. We, of course, have all these different vectors that we can be spied upon, but every time there's a new one, they don't risk any, or they don't waste any time saying, hey, you know what? We could aggregate data from that and sell it. And ICE is like, yes, we'll buy it. Yes, how much do you have?
San Francisco police are using driverless cars as mobile surveillance cameras. Autonomous vehicles are recording their surroundings continuously and have the potential to help with investigative leads. Everything is true of that. Your phone is doing that. Google is doing that.
Everything is going to be an investigative lead.
Yeah.
The last bullet point is the most damning one.
Information will be sent in how to access this potential evidence. Investigations has already done this several times.
2 grammatical errors because cops are stupid. That was an official document.
They didn't think to, hit F7 on it before they hit send.
It's the double red underline was furiously blinking at them, and they just tuned out. They don't see that anymore.
But once again, that is not enough. And once again, the sheep, or I guess the sheep-like sack that they've crudely painted to look like a sheep, is protecting children. We got to protect these kids. We're not going to be able to feed them or give them rights, but we have to protect them.
New EU rules would require chat apps to scan private messages for child abuse. And also copyright. Copyright violations.
Mostly copyright.
Now you're thinking, well, didn't Apple already do this? Kind of. But what Apple was doing is they were checking the hashes, right? They weren't actually looking at your files. They were just like, does this file match a hash that might be something bad? What this presents is something much more than that, because you have to watch out for trafficking in addition to the media, which means that there has to be an AI that monitors your text and tries to flag what it thinks might be dangerous or grooming behavior.
Oh, that's totally not going to totally suck up things that are irrelevant.
They'll probably make that algorithm public, right?
Right. Definitely.
Mm.
Definitely going to be public.
And not use it for parallel. What's the name of the thing where
Parallel construction.
Parallel construction, right?
Yeah.
It'll never be used for that.
Thinking about Teams, like Teams has that feature where it tries to suggest what it thinks that you would say in messages now. Do you think it'll start doing that? Like, it looks like you're being groomed.
It looks like you're grooming children. Do you want me to help with that? I've been watching a lot of police interrogation videos, and it's funny how often they talk about this. And they will actually come out and say to the criminal, they're like, do you remember a phone call that you got about like your car warranty or whatever? And the person was like, yeah, I kind of remember that. And they're like, yeah, that was us stingraying you. We have everything. And why do we have that kind of technology? Because actually, the powers that be want it.
The FBI told Israel it wanted the Pegasus hacking tool for investigations, but the entire rest of this article talks about how they only used it to see how it might be used adversarially.
Of course, they would never use it on their own citizens.
Except then they revealed that in the talks and some emails, they did talk about maybe using it for that.
Maybe using it, maybe. They didn't really use it for any act, but they talked about it.
And that, in fact, they were talking to Celebrite, and they were like, how could we use this for this?
Nah.
Why don't you trust them? Why are you so distrustful?
Oh, let me check something real quick, because they said when you switch to the thing, well, you'll reveal the next headline. I'm going to check the thing when you switch headlines. So we'll segue into the next story, I guess.
Sorry, I forgot what it was. Oh, right, yes.
They would never use it on a U.S. citizen. Notice that they were really careful in the last article to say U.S. citizen and U.S. phone number. And then there was this.
Oh, well, this was not that might have been a U.S. citizen. I don't know. Maybe they were living in this country. But anyway, it was a reporter for a foreign newspaper, which of course gives us the right to do whatever we want.
U.S. secretly issued subpoena to access Guardian reporters' phone records. Oh no, secret subpoenas for a Guardian whatever. Okay, hang on. Let me just check this.
Oh, is the sound going down?
They said that it's lower, but we'll see. Survey says no.
Although, well, now that wouldn't change the audio input at all, would it?
No. 00 Pro Capture 4K mix.
Although I think this did happen last time we did this.
And then hit the button. And then this one is 4K mix. Yeah. So.
And yeah, the
Are
levels. Levels are the same. The number. Some poor person is like trying to listen to this while they're working, and they're like, "Oh, I gotta turn it off."
It's fine.
All right. Well,
Moving right along.
While we're waiting for feedback, we'll go forward. We got to charge forward with this.
I'm pretty sure that woman reporter, I don't think she was American. It was definitely a foreign national.
But she was here doing the
investigation stuff, yeah.
Right.
They say the audio gets lower, but it has to be an OBS thing because the levels out of OBS did not change when I was doing that. So we'll just have to deal with it later.
Wonder what it could be. Anyway.
The urge to let this devolve into a troubleshooting stream is really high right now. But
instead, let's talk about maybe a glimmer of hope in all this dystopian block. But it is just another reminder that this is so much of a problem that the companies that are basically at gunpoint being forced to take part in it are saying, guys, really? We need to stop this. Our customers don't like it.
Google, Microsoft, and Yahoo back New York ban on controversial search warrants. This is, of course, the location and geofencing. Show me everybody that was in that Mexican grocery. Turns out the bar for getting those warrants is very low, but customers do not like it.
And we learned that if you really pinky swear and say it's a super emergency, you can bypass the warrant.
People are going to get hurt.
I pinky promise that this time it really, really needed it.
But if you think that is our savior, it's not, because when it comes down to it and the leaders are pressed at a time when they are deeply, deeply unpopular and their policies have caused rampant crime, what do? Do they undo those policies? No, we need new policies.
U.S. cities are backing off banning facial recognition as crime rises. So this is more to do with individuals and private businesses than law enforcement, but law enforcement's getting swept up with this too.
Oh, and they're going to buy the data.
Yeah.
Basically, if you're running facial recognition in your business, you're doing it on behalf of the local constabulary. There's no getting around it because those warrants will come. And ultimately, I think probably this is where all this is going, because this solves all of their problems all in one nice, tidy little package. And all it costs is your happiness online, because this will stomp on it.
The U.S. Copyright Office seeks input on mandatory DMCA upload filters. These upload filters are going to prevent you from talking about the algorithm and law enforcement surveillance and getting caught up in things. And remember that time that Google Docs would crash if you typed and.
I think they fixed that. I tested it the other day, and it's gone now.
This is part of the takedown and stay down stuff too, by the way, which I actually submitted a comment here that was like, no, this is designed for incumbents to keep power. This is so that Disney can just crush whatever they want and it be irrelevant for individuals. This doesn't help anybody except Disney.
Yeah. And you're thinking to yourself, maybe, well, sure, that'll happen in some places in the world, but I live someplace really liberal and they don't deal with this kind of thing and it's going to be fine. Don't worry, because Americans are evil and you deserve what you get. Well, don't think that. Don't think so fast about that, because they have their ways of bringing this to you.
The Pirate Bay, or the pirate site blocking, is making its way into free trade agreements. This is not the first time this has happened. Remember the Trans-Pacific Partnership? If not, that's something you can Google later. But yeah, the TPP. This is like that, but the next generation. Everything old is new again.
And even if you have lawmakers who have the right mindset and want to protect you from this kind of thing, I think they will be swayed by billions of dollars.
Probably less than that. Hell, they probably settle for millions or even thousands.
Well, it won't be a billion for them. Their kickbacks will be a small percentage of that. But a small percentage of $1 billion is a lot.
Still a lot.
Yeah.
We learned, what was it, like back during the early part of this year about the UFOs, and they're like, we're going to unlock all the UFOs and give you all the information. And they did, and it wasn't really much, but it was some stuff that kind of was
I've been hearing that for like 5 or 6 years. And
Yeah.
Well, we got something, but we didn't get much. What we got was kind of stuff we'd already seen before. However, it has ignited the curiosity, it seems.
House panel to hold public hearing on unexplained aerial sightings. Now, the New York Times has some quotes and has some articles and has some stuff in there. Mainly, they're pretty sure that this is not some other power on Earth, some other foreign power, and also not a different U.S. government department. Could just be elaborate equipment malfunction. We don't know.
Or it could be aliens.
Probably aliens. Definitely. Take that to the bank.
Don't worry about all these other problems. Let's talk about that problem.
Invest in alien coin.
I bet there is actually an alien coin, and like
Probably.
now someone's gonna be like,
Don't do
okay.
it. And we had a problem here for a long time, and I'm sure everybody's experienced when you're sitting there, you're watching your favorite TV show, and all of a sudden it goes to the commercials, and there's a local commercial for like some law firm talking about mesothelioma, and it's about 10 million decibels.
Yes.
And you crank it all the way down, and then your program comes back on, and you can't hear it.
There's a law against that.
Awful, right? It came pretty late in the TV life cycle.
Yeah.
Maybe shockingly late, enough to be barely useful to people who aren't watching TV anymore. But what it didn't do was carry over to the next iteration.
Lawmakers offer bill to regulate volume of commercials on streaming services. So it will be just as effective on streaming services as it has been on cable television. That is to say, not at all.
What a dirty trick. A dirty trick, and they always get away with it. Well, the Biden administration is trying to do what they can to relieve Americans' financial stress. I don't know that this was the best use of the money.
Low-wage earners can get internet for $30 a month if you qualify. Seems like just paying them more would be better.
I don't know that they all have jobs. Well, they're saying that it is critical that you get the internet, and the current internet is not enough. You need 100 megabit minimum.
Yeah.
That's what they're saying.
Gosh, think about all the people around here that would be so delighted if they could even get 100 megabit at any price.
Much less 30.
Yeah.
I mean, for a long time, my parents were paying 100 a month for something not much better than that. I think they were getting 50.
Yeah.
They have improved that, though. They also increased the price.
I think one of the quotes in the article, they were like, you need internet now. And I was like, so shouldn't we treat it like infrastructure and not a private business? But all right.
Well, Clearview AI, we're all familiar with that name, and hopefully you have a bad taste in your mouth when you hear it, because they are awful, but they're becoming more and more powerful. However, they seem to have lost a lawsuit, or actually they settled, and I gotta say, I don't believe this.
Clearview AI agrees to limit sales of facial recognition data in the U.S. They're not going to stop collecting it. They're not going to stop using it. They're not going to stop, refining the algorithm. The algorithm is probably not going to stop being racist, but they will limit the sales in the U.S.
Which means they're going to have to sell a lot more in China in terms of our data to make up for that. I have to find listen, CCP. We're going to have to turn up the volume on this data. We got to make up the bottom line here. And the FTC, more and more, has control over our lives where the FCC used to, because the FCC won't do anything.
Thanks to GPI.
And we're in this weird situation, so this actually means a lot more than it used to.
Senate confirms Bedoya to FTC, establishing a Democratic majority. Vice President Kamala Harris broke the 50-50 tie in the Senate. Oh, Mitch McConnell was not happy.
Yeah,
He hissed like the snapping turtle he is.
So it was all they were talking about in the Turtle Club.
Lena Khan, who we have talked about a lot before, I think she was in the interim role here. She said it was good, although I don't know how much she believes that, because not only is that her spot for a little while, but I don't know how this guy lines up with her belief system.
Yeah, I don't know too much about Bedoya. I've heard that name before in one other context for, I think it was some kind of deregulation thing. And so I don't really have a good opinion as to like what his alignment is going to be on different things. But we'll see.
If McConnell hates him and Biden loves him, I think we can kind of guess.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Amazon suffered a terrible, terrible loss recently because the unions got started. They got their foot in the door. And once the union gets their foot in the door, you're going to have a tough time. The tendrils will come sneaking in.
That guy's had so many politician photo ops. It's been crazy.
And so now we have all these court cases coming about from that. Because in the run-up to the union vote, both sides might have taken some extreme actions. And Amazon in particular might have done some things that weren't legal.
Labor agency says Amazon's union meetings complaints have merit. This was, if you unionize, we'll take away your benefits and fire you, which you can't do.
Haven't been able to do that for like, what, 70 years? Something like that?
I don't think they came out and said that necessarily.
It was the implication.
Yeah, I don't think there was a lot of nuance to it because, they were dealing with a big room full of Amazon workers. I'm sure they didn't leave too much to the imagination. But it'd be interesting to hear what they actually said. Which in Discovery, we might get to do unless they settle. And they probably for sure don't want that. Although, you know what? I'm sitting here thinking like, you know what? Somebody definitely recorded that. I forgot they take their phones.
Yeah. Well, not anymore because, some people died in a tornado. But
Yeah, it's, that had to happen more than once. That's the part that I can't get over.
Yeah.
Well, and also the union had to happen before that.
Yeah.
So. Texas, much like California, is trying to sort of like do their own laws to step around the federal laws, except in the other direction. And so Texas is saying, yeah, all that social media stuff? Well, you're not allowed to make any editorial decisions.
Appeals court rules Texas social media law can proceed. Do you feel censored? Do you live in Texas? You can sue. We should talk about the energy prices in Texas and see if anybody complains, because what kind of crazy world is it that California has $100 billion operational surplus in their budget and Texas doesn't have enough energy to keep the air conditioner on for 27 million people this weekend?
yeah, I think it was what? Everyone's going to have to keep their air above 78. It's
Yeah.
going to be brutal.
Yeah.
Might as well just die.
Yeah. How does this... What's going on?
Well, I think probably what's going on is California has or had a lot of high net worth people and a crazy tax rate. And they actually just so happen to have like the best weather in the nation. And that's got a big premium, but a lot of those people are going to Texas. So maybe they'll gain that power and it'll eventually corrupt them. But there is another state that has really nice weather. And because of that, it has special things that companies want and they'll pay a lot to get them. However, their legacy of, building up that stronghold is being stripped away.
Hawley introduces bill to strip quote-unquote woke Disney of special copyright protections. I looked into
Who do you
this.
root for here?
Yeah, I looked into this, and this is just moving copyright back to a maximum of 56 years. Yes, that will affect Disney, but that affects a lot of companies, and that's good. I think this is a good
Yeah.
move.
But Disney was the one that
He was aiming at.
created that.
Yeah, but Hawley doesn't seem specifically mad about woke politics. He just seems mad that there are a lot of companies that are appropriating a lot of copyrighted things.
Well, he should be mad about that, but I'm sure this is also motivated by the don't say gay thing, right?
Yeah, that's what the article said.
Yeah, that was the gist I got, was that he was maybe more aiming at that thing, but also like if that means Disney doesn't have a stranglehold on all our media, that might not be the worst thing in the world.
I don't think they necessarily are looking to, like force Disney's hand and just like, if Disney was like, fine, we won't do that ever again, I don't think it will help them now, because I think what's happened is, oh, you used to be a corporation that was on our side. Now you're not. Well, I guess we don't need to help you anymore.
Can we somehow weaponize our politicians to be that fired up about things that matter? Because that result, like whatever motivation they have to do that, if we could get to that result, I'm fine with it. Like,
No.
can we?
No, because yes, we can do that. It's called lobbying. And we don't want that. It's easy to get them to do whatever you want.
Speaking
if you
of
have
lobbying.
unlimited money. Yeah, and well, we know that Peloton is going out of business. They desperately
Yes.
need a contract, but nobody would give Peloton money because it's a stupid product. You would have to have a room full of absolute morons to negotiate a contract with Peloton at this point. Oh, or they could be spending somebody else's money.
Taxpayers pony up to give all house staff Peloton memberships. So up to 100,000 people, or no, it's up to
I thought it was 12,000.
12,000 people. If they're interested, they get a free membership, which is $10 a month.
And when we say staff, we're not talking about like the actual representatives. We're talking about everybody that works for them.
What's crazy too is this article mentioned like they already have a gym and like a pool and a fitness center on site. So it's
And-
like, why do they need the Peloton subscription?
And they also have a hairdresser who doesn't do that full time for them, but makes $100,000 a year just from them.
Wow.
And during the government shutdowns, none of that stopped.
Not even like 70%? Like 70% reduction?
People are unhinged.
50%?
Yeah. So the article mentions that, this didn't happen until after Peloton started lobbying about a year ago. They got an office in DC.
They gave them the rusty Pelotons that we learned about.
Hopefully I'll get tetanus.
Remember that from the episode a few episodes ago? It's like, oh, how are we ever going to fix these? Give them to Congress.
Although they're not actually giving them any hardware.
Well, they got 10 grand up front for something.
No, that's just the retainer.
Oh,
So the 10 grand gets everybody on board, and then as you enroll names, you pay another 10 per name. Right.
it's rough.
Even the subscription model for Congress is bad. And this one is, how many times have we done this story at this point? It really is just recycle it. Just rinse it off and show it again because it's the same story.
We covered this story. This is the conclusion to what we covered 2 years ago.
It's not a happy conclusion.
No. Frontier lied about internet speeds and ripped off customers, the FTC says. No, it's not Frontier in West Virginia. It's Frontier in California. Yes, California. So,
And they have to pay 90 million. Oh wait, there's no zero there.
That's
It's
it's
just-
just 9 million.
It's just 9 million.
9 million. But they collected more than 3 times that much.
That's a small number.
How do they even determine that? Do they just throw a dart at a board?
No, they say a bigger number, and then those lobbyists we were talking
So they're
about
like,
call them
"Oh, we
up,
can't
and they're
afford
like,
that right
"Oh,
now."
God, we got to talk about this. Come on." And they're like, "Well, we could do 9." Which makes you have to wonder when they say, and of course this is a different government, but let's be serious. I mean, they're the same. When they say they're going to protect you from something, you really have to wonder when that something has billions and billions of those lobby dollars that we're talking about.
UK government sets out plans to rein in big tech. Could be fines ranging into the tens of billions of dollars. When I tried to find some details on this, more than what was in this article, I came up short. It seemed to just be UK saying, we need to find big tech because they're making money and
It's
we're
the
not
hot new thing to do, and we're not part of the EU anymore.
we're not getting a piece of it.
I also think it's a little bit of sweetener for the upload filters.
Yeah.
Makes those taste a lot better, right? Oh, we do need to fix that. And That also comes along with some different rules when it comes to cybersecurity, because we all know that the breaches are ruining our lives and no one's taking it seriously. How do you make them?
EU governments and lawmakers agree on tougher cybersecurity rules for key sectors. This is definitely going to happen, but it's, I mean, this really, like, the insurance industry lobbies for this kind of thing, but what it actually does is just make it harder to get an insurance payout. It doesn't actually fix the problem.
And another thing that the EU is getting like their ducks in a row about is cryptocurrency, because it's time to pay taxes on cryptocurrency. How hilarious is it going to be for all the cryptocurrency traders who made a ton of money last year and owe a ton of capital gains, and then they lost it all this week? That's going to put you in a tough spot.
Ouch. Germany affirms crypto sold after 1 year is tax-free. Germany's crypto ecosystem has finally received nationwide tax guidance, with one EU policy expert labeling it a huge success. Basically, if you don't speculate on crypto, they're not going to tax the bejesus out of you.
Diamond hands. Diamond hands don't pay taxes. That should be the thing they put up there.
It's not as catchy.
Well, here's an old story, but this is a newer article. It's got a couple of new details, but they're basically, I don't think it was absolutely sure this is who did it and this is why. It would be one hell of a coincidence if not. But now they're confident enough to say yes.
The MIT Technology Review, yes, is breaking the story. Russia hacked an American satellite company 1 hour before the Ukraine invasion. I got some details wrong here. It was not 1 hour. They were in there for a very long time. They
turned it off.
They turned it off 1 hour before the invasion. This is Viasat. And we reported on this like 60 days ago.
Yeah, but everyone was like, well, it might not be them. But I mean, really, come on.
If it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, we haven't done the DNA analysis to confirm duckhood, but we're pretty sure it's a duck.
And this was a wiper malware. It was designed just to shut things down. And it turned out it was a little too aggressive. And it got out into the greater EU. A lot of people were unhappy about that.
But it didn't shut down all Viasat stuff everywhere, which is interesting. The Russian attackers were very careful not to wipe literally everything connected to the Viasat network. But they had deep access to that network, which is probably disturbing for other American companies.
And live streaming is hot. Hey, that's what we're doing right now.
Hey.
Oh, wow. Thankfully, we are not under the thumb of the CCP yet. Because if we were, they would probably be telling us what we're doing wrong.
China tells Big Tech to reveal some customers' income. By customers, they mean live streamers. Apparently, there's shopping live streamers.
Yeah, I thought that was strange.
In China, and China wants to fine them $100 million. They think that they missed out on $100 million in taxes. Clearly, we're in the wrong streaming business.
Yeah.
Is it? So I didn't fully understand that. Was that like people who shop for you, or?
No, I think they're just,
like just browsing online shopping?
Well, taste making, saying like, oh, you should match this with this. And this
influencing.
Right, yeah. That kind of thing. I don't know that for sure, but what else would it be?
Yeah.
Now, I have seen videos on YouTube where somebody who gives like diet advice will be like, all right, today we're going to go to Costco and I'm going to show you what to buy. And they'll go and like, here's a week's worth of clean keto food or something like that.
Yeah. There's a vegetarian lady I watch who does recipes, and she did an episode where it was like sponsored by Aldi. But she disclosed that at the start.
I'm not sure that these people did.
Yeah.
They are probably getting kickbacks from all the stores, right? Because what could be a better commercial than a TikToker showing up at your store?
Yeah, probably.
Well, Coinbase, they've had a bad week, and we'll talk more about that in the business section. But they had another bad week in the week before on a slightly smaller scale when it came to India, because India, as we've noticed in the past, they're very skeptical of these Western companies, as they should be. And any little thing they do, India's like, no, you will stop.
Coinbase CEO says India's central bank, quote unquote, informally prompted them to halt trading. So this was when Coinbase turned on their thing that allowed you to buy crypto with Indian currency through the Indian currency payment system, UPI.
It was UPI.
Yeah.
Which I don't think that's like a government-run payment system.
No, it's...
It seems like maybe that's PayPal, and the government was like, oh, you're using PayPal?
Not okay.
The comment here is weird. It says that they don't want to be seen as supporting cryptocurrency directly, even though it is allowed under the law. There's a bunch of rules. So I don't know. Somebody in the chat was really excited to tell us that if you remember demonetization in India, you guys speculated its impacts. We were 70% right. It was the first step of the economic downfall since. Without any context, I'm not sure what that means exactly, but okay.
Well, it means we were right.
And that's all that matters. It's 70% right, no less.
Well, thanks.
How unsettling is it for your, like, I'm not a big believer and that's like, oh, you got to dress for the success that you want. I know that's nonsense. But a leader in a backwards baseball cap, I don't like it.
I thought it was the guy that made the Clerks movie.
Well, it looks like a cross between Kevin Smith and Drake.
Oh, yeah.
If Kevin Smith and Drake had the pregnant man emoji and they had a baby, it would be this guy. Also, do you know, is it Bukele?
Bukele sounds more correct.
Oh, but yeah, who knows?
But, when it comes to investment decisions, like, a lot of people, they'll make an investment and then they'll tweet about it. It's like, oh, to the moon or whatever. It's really embarrassing when you do that publicly and it goes bad. It's even more embarrassing when you use the people's money and you lose a large percentage.
El Salvador's losses in cryptocurrency swell to 28% as Bukele buys more. Gotta double down. Gotta buy low.
He's buying the dip.
What if the dip continues to dip?
I think then he might dip.
Mm-hmm. You pointed out that he looks like a little bit like Drake in this photo, and now I can't unsee it.
Yeah, look at that. Kevin Smith and Drake. Someone has merged
Can we make a
them.
Hotline Bling joke somewhere in the title this week?
We don't have to do titles this week.
All right. That's live.
All right, that's the end of the business section.
Woo! Thank you. Business section. Okay, we've got our government. Business is up next.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, that was the government.
Oh, yeah.
Martin Volgers says, I've been following you guys since the start, finally catching a live stream. Welcome to the live stream.
Hello.
How did it take you this long?
Willpower PC says, days with no level 1 news post, I dumped coffee on my cat. Yes, I've seen your comments a few times. Please don't do that.
I hope that it's cold coffee.
It's straight out of the thing. It's hot.
PH Gamer, California's budget is BS. It's all real estate speculation. When housing goes, so does California. And PH Gamer gave us another. It says it's only a loss if you actualize it. Esky Monster gave us even more. It says, I work for TDC and puts fiber in the ground. Yeah, that's probably a better spot for it. Trees can't get it there. Well, at least as easily. I guess tree roots could. Jimmy Gleason says, nice hearing y'all while hiking through the PCT. Well, we're just getting the next group of stories ready.
You have service on the Pacific Crest Trail? What part are you in?
Maybe when we switch angles, it's not that I'm getting quieter. It's that I'm not talking into the microphone. Because like if I look at the screen, I'm not talking directly into the microphone. Maybe it's that.
Yeah, I've started tilting mine this way because I tend to look at you guys when I talk.
I definitely noticed it last time we did this. Like it was a noticeable difference.
I wonder what's going on with OBS. Maybe we should test that when we do test recordings. Because I don't know, the levels look okay.
Yeah, that's good. It's good feedback. You got donations to read?
I did.
Oh, you got through them?
I got through them. So now with the business section.
Business section, and we're going to start out with a headline that no one wants to see, because here for a while we've been getting a couple of headlines that people are like, no, it's going to be okay, and then we got those the video card prices, and they're like, yeah, we're going back to normal.
I don't think so.
But then Samsung has released
There's a whole round of lockdowns. Yeah, Samsung is reportedly planning to raise chip prices by 20%.
That's a lot.
That is a lot.
Big number.
I believe another way to say that is 1/5.
I don't think that Samsung's yield has been that great either, because isn't it true that NVIDIA switched process providers from Samsung to TSMC for the next GPUs? NVIDIA's never said anything bad about their yield, but the writing's on the wall, isn't it?
We will see. And we will see because we'll be paying more. And some people may be able to pay that extra 20%, but some people may have lost everything because they made some really, really bad decisions and they went all in, and you never go all in.
Luna nosedives under $2, loses 98% of its value as Terra USD struggles to retain its dollar peg. I think it has since collapsed since this article, has it not?
They sold billions in Bitcoin to fight that peg. And yes, I think they failed.
Look at those graphs.
You see this right here? That's what you call a dead cat bounce. Even a dead cat will bounce once if you throw it off a building. I don't think that's true, actually. I've not tried it. I wouldn't suggest you do.
Now, was this the one that they had a bunch of Bitcoin in reserve and they liquidated a lot of it and it didn't help?
They were trying to hold the peg, and God bless them, they tried.
It negatively impacted the price of Bitcoin, did it not?
I don't know. They sold it. They didn't. I don't know if they sold it on the open market. I think they did private sellers, but anybody who had wind of that had to know. So it might have contributed. I don't know. And the NSO group, now we talked about them in the previous section. Oh, we usually say yesterday, but we don't have to today. You might actually remember it.
Oh, I couldn't see this one. I didn't go looking
Yeah, I
for
didn't
it.
see this one either. I got the paywall.
So NSO group is owned by, like venture capital. This venture capital firm that owns the majority of the NSO group got a new managing firm. Like these guys run the capital group that owns the NSO group, or at least a large part of it, but they're not involved in the running of it, right? So they sent a message and they're like, hey, NSO group, it sure is worrying all these headlines we're seeing. Could you explain to us what's going on with you selling to all of these other foreign entities and stuff like that? And the NSO group was like, it's fine, don't worry.
I like to imagine that's what the summary was in the article. It's fine. Don't worry.
I mean, nothing but a paywall here, but yeah, the Financial Times is saying
You should seek out that article and point and laugh at it, because we always say that whenever there's stuff that comes out, and it's like they would never bug the president of France's phone, and then the next article is where they bug the president, and then it's like, well, we investigated and it turned out that was Morocco, and it's like, well, yes, obviously Morocco should have the power to bug the president of France's phone, obviously.
all of their responses were that canned, like we follow all the laws and we only do business where we're, like the same garbage they've said all along. So even the people who technically own them, even the Elon Musk of that situation, can't get any answers.
The next logical step is for them to rebrand, which will change nothing.
The old Blackwater play.
Yeah.
Guess who's still doing business under a different name? And antitrust, when you think of antitrust and you think like, oh, big tech companies that require antitrust attention, you go down the list. This got to be like number 100 or so, right?
Yeah, I was kind of confused by this a little bit.
But I don't know, if you let the fog of all of our love for the man go away, they are in some ways controlling the market.
Valve loses bid to end antitrust case over Steam gaming platform. So this is a little convoluted, but basically it's just saying, hey, Steam doesn't really have brick and mortar costs. It doesn't make sense for them to set pricing this way, and they can be more aggressive than brick and mortar stores. So this is probably a competitive disadvantage, and they don't allow reselling, and they're, it's a fully captured market. A lot of things going on there.
It's all true. Just super convenient, and that's why we tolerate it. Well, Netflix, they've had some bad news in the stock market, and in response to that, they basically cut a massive part of their upcoming production budgets. They've canceled everything. They've decided that they're going to start showing ads, and they're making more internal changes to make things probably a lot worse for the employees. And because of all that, they decided to put out a little notification for all of the employees. They also New York Times left out one of the very important parts about that.
Netflix tells employees ads may come to Netflix by the end of 2022. And if you're not happy about that, you can leave.
That's right. If you don't like Dave Chappelle being on Netflix, well, you don't have to work at Netflix. They also mentioned that the password sharing crackdown is coming, Krista.
I know.
Around the same time as the ads.
Oh, no. That means I'll have to just get rid of Netflix.
You'll have to switch to Disney Plus.
I won't use Disney Plus. No. Buy things on DVD like an old person.
And it seems to be a trend among all of these big giant tech companies. As things turn bad, they, when they look at their employees, they say, ooh, you look expendable.
Uber CEO tells staff... Uber CEO tells staff company that will cut down on costs and treat hiring as a privilege.
The first thing that they're cutting, marketing.
Yeah. Well, Wendell, you have said many, many times in the past, and I agree with you, we could run Uber.
Uber is unsustainable. Uber should be like Instagram. When Facebook bought Instagram for $1 billion, there were 13 people in the company that weren't contractors and everything else. That is a possible Uber business model. What Uber is today is not sustainable economically. It can only be a fraud and money laundering operation. I don't see how it could be anything else.
I feel that way about a lot of technology. Like I was reading some of these stories earlier and I was like, how many of these are just like pump and dump schemes where they get them artificially inflated with investor money and then they leave?
When the first big leg down hit the stock market, I was reading an article about the unicorns, as they call them, and none of them have any money at this point. Like all they have is their name right now. They don't make any money and they don't have any money now that their stock price is tanked. So
they're tulips.
Zombies, basically.
They're tulips.
Tulip bulb mania, is that what you're talking about? Yeah.
But it does seem like, amongst all this chip shortage and stuff, the big CPU companies, because, well, at least Team Blue, has been pushed so hard by Team Red, they are actually putting out some better stuff now. So that's good, probably, right?
Intel unveils its 7 new 12th generation Intel Core HX mobile processors. I was really hoping for more benchmarks of these, but this article has some good numbers. A lot of it's from the Intel press coverage. I went so far as to try to get my hands on one of the new Intel laptops that has ARC graphics, because in South Korea, only South Korea, some of these laptops with the ARC graphics were advertised, but the American version, and the version that I could get here, did not have ARC graphics. So it turns out that was a mistake. So I don't even have hands-on with the ARC graphics, but the CPU's the real deal.
And just like AMD last week, they are chasing that power laptop user.
Yeah.
They want to give you a ton of performance on a laptop.
I'm concerned about the power usage here, because it seems like both Intel and AMD are basically saying if you want the full fire-breathing 16-core monster horsepower, just leave it plugged into a wall. We're back to luggables. And
replace your battery every year when you don't do that, because you're going to discharge it 5 or 6 times a day.
Yeah.
Well, augmented reality, that has not gone well. Every company that has come out with augmented reality, we had, was it Pebble? No, not Pebble. What was the name of the one with the rock demo?
I think, no, I can't remember. Chat'll let us know.
But they had that company, and then you had HoloLens, which we just learned the military bought some, but they have no idea.
They're just like, okay, yeah.
We don't even know what this is. So can Google finally give us something that we actually need? And you got to give it up to them. They did do something pragmatic with AR.
Google shows off AR glasses that might make a case for augmented reality. So this was Google I/O. Google I/O was last week, and we've got 3 or 4 stories that have little tidbits from Google I/O. I'm really skeptical of this.
I am too.
Because we've seen this before. I mean, this is the vision for what this should be, but there doesn't seem to be any evidence here, even at Google I/O, a developer-oriented I don't know what to call it, conference, a developer-oriented conference. They didn't talk about the platform of how they're going to enable this, short of saying Flutter. Flutter, Flutter, Flutter. Augmented reality, Flutter.
My thinking was, how well will it handle things like accents or regional dialect or...
The closed captioning is doing very well on our live stream.
Our accents aren't that strong.
Well, you just have to speak better English, right?
Yeah.
Just like Google's going to tell you how to speak.
Homogenize.
They announced several things at the I/O conference, and none of them are all that surprising. We knew about the watch that was coming, but now I guess the big surprise was the giant Android tablet.
Google announces its first smartwatch, the one that was leaked. That was a PR stunt.
Yep.
And a new budget phone and more. I like how the new budget phone is basically just, okay, we've realized that we've plateaued with Android. It's fine. Yes.
Very unremarkable. And I don't have a picture of, also earbuds. Pixel buds.
We know. One of our editors left a note under the door that says, audio switches when switching to articles. We know.
Listen, I did my best to make a continuous noise to try to estimate that, and it's just like, I don't know. I don't know why OBS is doing that.
There's got to be like an extra filter.
I don't know why OBS would do that.
I'll try to make them really, you know what? Let's try, I'll like the transitions. Let's make them really quick and we won't make any noise.
Okay.
After that.
That's fine.
Right. So the Pixel tablet, I already talked about it. Well, here's the headline. Look at it. Don't make any noise.
Google will release a Pixel tablet in 2023. It's going to be like the Nexus. Remember the Nexus? The Nexus was great. It was cutting edge. It was revolutionary. It had really long battery life. It was Google showing OEMs how to make a tablet. And then it was abandoned, lost, forgotten to the sands of time, and is now gathering dust on a wall of similar tablets.
And after it was abandoned and like 2 updates later, it was clear they didn't care about it anymore. They were just destroying it. And smart homes. My God, do you not want a smart home? This is Internet of Things, and it's everywhere in your home. And Google says, listen, this is a minefield, and there's so much disinformation. Just trust us to do it all. And by the way, trust all these other giant tech companies that we're going to partner up with.
Google says Matter is still set to fix the biggest smart home frustrations. So this is an article that goes on for a very long time. But one of the important things here is that finally, in 2022, mark your calendars, 5/16/2022, they're telling you what I was telling you in 2006, which is people don't want their smart home to have to go to the internet and back when they change their thermostat, when they flip a switch and extra lights come on. They want to have it happen locally. So Google's inventing a whole new ecosystem where these devices can talk to one another and set up the automations, and it doesn't have to go to the internet. It's revolutionary. Frustrating.
It's the last thing they want.
Yeah, my thinking is, well, don't they want it to go to the internet? Why
Absolutely.
would they not?
Yeah.
The logging will still go to the internet, but the functionality doesn't have to go to the internet.
But you're stripping away data that they sell.
Yeah.
That's how they make their money. I think a way to read this headline that makes more sense is that Google has some really, really good services, and we've all just kind of gotten used to how terrible the UI is. But new people coming up who are using more mobile apps are like, what is this?
Why is it so bad?
How bad? Google Docs has a dark pattern. You can't get to it on a mobile browser.
You have to go into like this weird edit mode, and it's like broken.
Yeah, it's
And,
very broken.
well, you have to tell it to render the desktop page first, and then it's unusable. It's just ridiculous. So I think somebody at Google finally looked at that, and they're like, yeah, we should probably redesign that.
Google is remaking search and maps for the TikTok generation. I forgot I wasn't supposed to read it.
That's
Actually, just use the links. Go to the forum and use the links.
Yeah, we gave you the links. You can follow along. It's like Mr. Rogers read along Sunday for adults.
I'm wondering. I feel like Maps is pretty good in mobile. I wonder what they'll adjust to it. I hope it doesn't make it worse.
Well, it needs to be simpler for like in the car and stuff. There's still too much.
It's true. That's very true.
Well, Apple is finally doing something that's pro-consumer, and you can feel good about it.
After being forced to.
Yeah, you have to ignore the EU logo pistol that's pointed at their head as they announce this.
Apple is testing iPhones that ditched Lightning ports in favor of USB-C.
Everybody likes that.
Yeah, it's good news.
And I imagine it's not going to be that difficult for them. Although, you know what this means for you iPhone users? Another dongle in your life until you refresh.
No, you can do USB-C to USB-C cables. They're chargers. So, like, you can use the same cable that uses your charger with your other thing. Although,
But your devices that connect with that cable have to be adapted.
I was debugging some Thunderbolt over the weekend, and I couldn't find a Thunderbolt cable, and I was surprised to learn, but then not really surprised, that the Apple-sanctioned USB-C cable that comes with the latest and greatest fancy pants USB-C charger from Apple is not actually Thunderbolt. It's just USB. Apple, what are you doing?
Making a ton of money.
Yeah, I was going to say they saved a little bit of money there.
So we got some good news about, like we said, the video cards last week, and everybody was like, is it over? Can we see the light? And it turns out Samsung just poured water all over that this week. I say, I don't think so. It's going to be a while. And then Sony and Nintendo right behind them with big jugs of water.
Sony and Nintendo video game machines to be in short supply again this year. I think somebody who wrote this headline is probably older. The video game machine.
Yeah, it feels a little weird.
Or in Eastern Kentucky, the old people, everything's a Nintendo.
Yeah.
The Singapore is still shut down at this point. Is that right? Singapore didn't sell a single automobile last month.
I thought it was Shanghai that.
Or Shanghai.
Yeah,
You're right.
I
You're right.
don't think it was Singapore.
Yeah,
Ah.
Shanghai and The Tesla China sales are basically non-existent at this point.
And there's a rolling shutdown in Beijing or something. Does anybody know any details about that?
Beijing, they're saying it's not a real lockdown, but there's a lot of pictures of them putting up the fences.
Yeah, it's starting to feel like a real lockdown, at least from what we're seeing on the other side of the world.
I think they're now limiting any kind of passports. You can't get out of the country. We'll all die together. Well, we have a podcast. I don't know. I mean, we really can't calculate how much revenue our podcast brings in because we do it just for the Patreon people.
Division by 0.
I guess that you could argue that some people only join Patreon or Floatplane for the podcast. Probably not.
I tried to set this up on Floatplane again. I'm sorry, I failed.
We'll fix that and the audio eventually. But just because our podcast isn't successful doesn't mean that business isn't killing it.
U.S. podcast ad revenue to top $2 billion in 2022, IAB/PwC study predicts. PwC is PricewaterhouseCoopers. That's a big accounting firm, one of the top 4 or 5 in the world. They usually know what they're talking about.
And they're saying not only do people engage like crazy with podcasts, their minds are blown. Like, wait, they'll listen for 3 hours? What is this?
Amazing.
But also they're getting better at just like sticking the ads in there in ways you can't get around.
Eventually, the content will just be the ad.
Spotify plays the ads as another track, but you can't skip, but you can scrub. You can scrub to the end. It's still annoying though. They'll run like 4 in a row. Scrub, scrub, scrub.
Oh, I went too far. Go back. Scrub. Oh, wait.
No. The good thing about it is it's its own track, so you just scrub to the end. It would actually be much more annoying if they baked it into the podcast.
That's one podcast I listened to. They baked it in. And it was very annoying.
But the tracking for that, I imagine the reason they do make them separate tracks is in order to get the tracking to prove that they're sort of a slave to their own system at this point, I think. FIFA, the video game, is huge. People love it. But we learned recently that people are somewhat upset about it, and the FIFA people themselves and that licensing fee, they are just not flexible on that.
EA Sports to rename the FIFA video game series after failing to reach an agreement. Notice they're not going to discontinue the FIFA series. They're just going to call it something else. That's what the title implies. How's that going to work? Just random dudes playing foosball?
Soccer game 2022.
You know what we could do? Now, we'll do this in the next section. Let's wait for the next section to do it. You have to suffer through it for this section. Then we'll do something different.
Woo!
I got my first Twitch drop this year.
Krista,
was that your first?
That was my first, I think.
Yeah. I didn't care about it that much, but I wanted it because it's a free video game, and I'm very serious about collecting free video games. And turns out that's getting more and more popular, and people don't like it.
40K developers criticized over dumb Twitch drops. Apparently there's a new 40K game that's like XCOM, which makes me pretty excited. But apparently you can't get certain weapons unless you show up to Twitch.
Overwatch also got quite a bit of criticism for this. Though in the case of theirs, they were doing beta access and it was like a day early. But you was guaranteed if you watched 4 hours of a stream.
And you had to link your Twitch account to this, which is just...
Well, that's the way it worked for Blizzard as well. Which is not great. Makes it feel more exclusive, but
also
at what cost?
Not cosmetic, actual change the game items. I am hyped for that game though. XCOM in the Warhammer universe sounds really good. I hope it is good. Steam Decks, you got any news on your Steam Deck?
July.
Oh, July.
Is it still? I keep thinking June whenever I think about that for you, but
the heat of summer, you'll be enjoying it outside.
yeah.
Oh, listen to that fan.
But Steam, you know, like we talk about the antitrust stuff, but Steam really does do a lot better than all the other companies. I mean, there's a reason people love them. And they said, hey, we got this Steam OS stuff. You know what we're going to do? We're going to open source it. You guys can play with it all you want, put it on other PCs. And of course, some very, very serious people got that. And they said, yes, this is the game that we like. We like playing this game. And so they tore it down and made it something else.
NeoWin says, make your own giant Steam Deck right now. So here is how you set up the Steam Deck operating system exactly like it is on the Steam Deck on basically arbitrary hardware. Now, it really is not truly arbitrary hardware, you're going to have to set it up on an APU. And even then, it's still not, like, you can't buy exactly the CPU that's in the Steam Deck. But you can get pretty close with, like, a 5700G or a 4750G or something like that. We did the Minis forum with the little 4750G, I think. That gets pretty close.
No NVIDIA.
No NVIDIA.
Cannot use NVIDIA. And get ready to manually do everything in Arch Linux, because that's what you're working with there in the background. It's not exactly user-friendly. But if you're trying to strip apart the Steam Deck and do it yourself, you're probably not a person who cares about that.
Yeah.
Also, there's no advantage to just running Steam and whatever native operating system you could run it on. Well, no, I guess it would benefit from those enhanced drivers. Have they ported that over to Steam on Linux at this point?
Yeah, they're doing most of the development on the Steam Deck, but then when they figure it out, it gets ported over to Steam for Linux, like Mesa and Proton and all that stuff.
Well, we got another week, another lawsuit against the big tech company, and this one is kind of what they're already getting hit for in other countries.
This one's an interesting twist.
People take this very seriously.
So Bloomberg is reporting that Match is suing Google over the App Store billing rules, and this is a consequence of the Apple lawsuit, where Google was not, like, in the agreement, Google was saying you have to use their payment processor, but for things like Match.com, they really didn't look too closely at it. But because Apple won that aspect of the lawsuit, Google is more aggressively going after that now. So Match.com, or Match or whatever, I guess wants you to use their payment processor, and they're pretty flagrant about it. But Google is now saying, no, you have to do this through our payment processor. But this app has been not Google's payment processor for many years. So it'll be interesting to see how this proceeds.
And what is it? Was it Denmark that just crushed Apple over this?
Yeah.
But Apple just keeps paying the fine because they're not willing to actually change it.
Because they can.
There must be a lot of money coming through those apps, those dating apps.
The Chinese streamer that was making $100 million apparently for shopping
Strange.
stuff, clearly.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned the shopping thing, because those shopping streamers are definitely who's driving this. Because obviously on TikTok, a few times that I've looked at TikTok, they didn't show me any of this because that algorithm is so good. It knows that I have no interest in shopping. But a lot of people do. And what happens when you look at your favorite influencer and they're buying all these expensive clothes and you say, hey, I can't afford this, but you really, really want it. What do you do?
Buy now, pay later is sending the TikTok generation spiraling into debt, popularized by the San Francisco tech firms. So you see something on TikTok you want, you can't afford it. It's only 24 easy payments of $20, which is a lot.
The big one of these, I think, is called Klarna. Maybe.
They mentioned several.
Yeah, Klarna's the one I see a lot on clothing stores now online. And it is
Klarna?
that same sort of thing where it's a constant payment system.
Klarna, Sezzle, Zip, formerly QuadPay, Afterpay, and Affirm.
Oh yeah, Afterpay. I've seen Afterpay as well.
Welcome to Level 1 Techs, where we'll show you how to build a usable computer from garbage.
And you don't have to pay later. Go to Patreon right now. So
Store.level1text.com.
a lot of these actually don't charge interest, so they don't get held by the traditional rules of loans. But they do report to credit agencies.
Yeah.
And some of them only report missed payments, not completed payments. So, and the one of those that didn't do that still advertised improve your credit, and yet there's no way to improve your credit through this service. They also mentioned that your average online purchase for money, about $100. Your average online purchase for imaginary pay later money, $350.
Wow.
I don't think the government's going to be able to bail us out. I think this is going to be something really bad that happens.
But they do, even the people who were pro pay later stuff, they're like, yeah, regulation's probably coming. Because of course it is. And all these poor TikTokers are broke. But God, do they look good.
I used to be able to use I get the balance transfer things all the time, and then I weaponize those somehow with the points thing, because you could get credit card points for. They don't send those anymore.
Yeah. And sometimes if you never use that balance transfer, they're like, what's wrong with this person? They'll just mail you checks.
Yeah.
It's like, here, just Just use them. Please, just use this money.
Yeah, but then once you launder like $5,000 through a credit card to get a free airline trip somewhere, they're like, "What? Stop that! Stop it!"
That's our game. Well, GNOME, this has been a story that's been going on for a long time. We've covered it several different times, and it's such an egregious, horrible thing. And you read the headline and it sounds good, but when you get to the end, you say, well, he didn't really win. This was a kind of a Pyrrhic victory because it's just for this one patent, and it's still very disgusting.
GNOME patent troll. Sorry. GNOME patent troll stripped of patent rights. So this was Shotwell. This patent troll was suing the people that made Shotwell for organizing photos, and which was kind of obvious and kind of a thing that already existed. The patent was challenged and invalidated, which is good, but there's a lot that the holding company for that patent still has a lot more patents that they hold.
But that particular one
is
no longer useful. He can never use that one again.
Nice.
So now we have to do this a couple hundred more times.
What a good use of time for everybody involved.
And AT&T in this disgusting story, I don't know if we talked about this specifically, but we've certainly talked about the fees that your ISP is going to hit you with. And usually it's like, oh, they're leasing you your router, or, they're doing something like that. It's something that you can turn off if you choose to. This was not that. This was a fee that was never defined, and you could not escape.
AT&T is about to get away with its bogus $199 administrative fee. I love the quote from AT&T on this, which is, "We've always been upfront and transparent with everything that we charge. The administrative fee is the fee for running the business."
Seems like that should be worked in somewhere else, right?
Maybe you could just put that in as part of your price.
It'd be like, you give us money on Patreon, and then we're like, we're going to need an extra $1 for the Patreon fee.
There's a credit card fee, and just give us more free money. Now, here's the most disgusting thing about that story. They did lose the case, and if you paid this fee, you can get something back. It's not very much, but here's the biggest catch of all. It will be applied as credit on your AT&T account.
And they don't have to pay back nearly what they took.
Well, they made a lot more than they're paying back.
Frustrating.
Sure. Yeah.
That seems to incentivize that sort of behavior if they don't get punished.
It does, doesn't
And
it?
the other thing is the fee's not necessarily going away. They did not admit guilt here. Here's another follow-up. We talked about this last week where a Samsung person, it seemed like a fairly high-ranking engineer, spoke out about how the whole chat support system was built and how they really do try to exploit their chat workers, because it's never about offering customer service. It's always about selling you things. So they don't train them for customer service, but they still send them customer service calls. Seems like a problem, right? Well, that person took a big risk.
A Samsung.com expert has been fired after speaking up about working for free. We covered this story, and it was basically, in a nutshell, what was happening was a fulfillment agency or a staffing agency was the live help on the Samsung website. And so if people needed help buying and selecting a phone, the person that helped them would get a commission. But a lot of the time when people were using the live help thing, it wasn't to buy a phone, it was to use the phone that they already had. And if they didn't do a good job with that interaction, then that would lower their score, and then they would be fired. So this person said, "This is kind of messed up." They were fired.
But even if they did an amazing job with that interaction, they would get no money for it. They would be working for free. Disgusting. And Microsoft has announced that, hey, you know how everybody's firing those workers that they don't need? All those workers they collected during the pandemic that aren't useful? Well, it turns out some workers are useful. And now, super, super valuable.
Microsoft considers pay raises to stay competitive.
Considers, but maybe he's not going to implement, is the way that sounds.
We need a press release, is what that sounds like?
Yeah.
Please come work for Microsoft.
They want to be included on the Level 1 news. They're like, ooh, we want to be in the business section.
Have you seen that TikToker that's making $100 million a year shopping for shoes? How do you get that job?
You got to look really good in shoes. You got to be willing to show your feet.
And you have to be a young girl. Looking good and being a young girl opens a lot of doors, it turns out. Well, our final business story has to do with Disney Plus. Krista, this is your future. You will switch. They will take your money because you'll be cast out of Netflix for being a filthy password share. And you will be one of these people who are swelling every day.
Disney Plus added almost 8. Oh, right. Yeah, I forgot.
I'm going to fix it after.
Disney Plus added almost 8 million new subscribers as Netflix struggles.
They're killing it.
I'm not interested in much of their catalog. I don't care about Marvel. I don't care about
Fox?
a lot of the old classic movies.
They bought a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I think they're going to keep doing that.
Yeah, that might be their only moneymaker after the parks are destroyed.
That was the entire business section.
All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to switch to this screen, and then we're going to drop that down there. Oh, that's the wrong one. That's the red one. I want the...
V4L2.
Oh, it's because they're...
Oh, chat.
I need...
You can show us and just put us in the corner.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do, but I can't get to... Okay, there it is. Oh, not us. I don't want to switch us. I want to switch... Oh, my God. That's what I want to switch.
Live troubleshooting simulator.
That's readable, right?
Yep.
That's fine.
And then...
That'll give them an idea of what we're on.
Oh, it's a completely different scene.
Yeah, it's totally different.
You have to copy the...
Oh, is there an existing one?
Yeah. It's the top. Just unhide it. Hit the eyeball. It's the very top one.
Boop.
ASMR segment.
It's not quite right. But yes, it is.
And then you just drag that one under the other one.
What are ASMR sounds? Don't they usually like hit the mic? Like their nails? Ooh. They're gonna hate that.
How do you like that?
I'm not even listening to it. I don't like it.
I have a bunch of people to thank. Computer experts. Aw, so mean. Somebody being mean about when the stories are from. They obviously weren't here for the first hour because some of those stories were from yesterday.
Ryan is too sober.
Nah, well, what are you
Oh
gonna do?
yeah, that's the
Bob-
once a year thing.
Bob Scott gave us $10 and says, I am a banana. VC Jester says, did you see the latest news about the black hole in our galaxy? That's coming. I think it's in the nonsense
It's
section.
coming.
Paul, the bearded one, says, just a few quid for a couple of brews and or maybe 1.5. Thanks for keeping me informed and sane. PH Gamer, how has anyone not gotten arrested? If I was France's president, I would be tempted to. Next says, Ryan, for a big bore AR upper, thinking of getting one, 50 Beowulf or 450 Bushmaster or 458 SOCOM.
I don't have a lot of insight into...
LaSalle Rhymes III says, love the show, loving the content and the great points made. USS Liberty Incident, welcome back, sir. As an employee of a unicorn who is being paid in shares, which will be worth nothing by the time they vest, I can confirm that these companies are BS. Thanks for the live stream.
Yeah. You probably want to, I don't know, maybe buy puts?
Christopher Stystrup, probably butchered your name, I'm sorry. The simplest way to Microsoft account during Windows setup is to type the word cancel as their username and password. Boom, error. I'll have to try that. Sergey Yestobrov says, I had to install private internet access to Super Chat. You guys should move to Ukraine. We have real cheap optical internet here. 100 megabit for just $8 and 1 gigabit for $15. How are things there?
Yeah.
Remember the viral photo of the guy splicing the fiber line in the wreckage?
Yeah.
PH Gamer $2 sounds more like a China thing than a malware thing. Todd Vance says, finally caught a live stream. Have a great day. What do we got coming up?
Social.
So this is the social section.
I
Are we
wanna
doing
stand up for a second?
social and anything else, or just social?
We don't have to do anything else because we're doing them one at a time.
Oh, okay. So, are we? Are you just going to toggle on and off the browser now?
I'm not even going to toggle it off because after they see the first one, they can keep looking at the other one until I switch it in them. They'll be able to see it while I'm introducing it, but you know what? I could turn it off. We'll see how it goes.
Nick War says you should toggle on the Factorio server to everybody. We don't have a Factorio server right
Yeah, we
now.
haven't started playing Factorio.
Maybe
We
that's
might do it next week.
Maybe that's a Linode thing we could do.
Ooh, Linode.
Oh, what if Linode? What could we do Could we say, if we get whatever the number is, I don't know what a realistic number is. If we get 25 Linode signups this month, then they give us a free Factorio server for the next 3 months.
We could probably manage that.
I bet people would do that. Linode, I'm almost sure would do that.
Infinite Valence says L1 TKVM manual. I don't know, Krista. When is that in process?
You got to do it like IKEA, where there's no words in it.
That's going to be hard because I already sent Krista like 800 words of madness.
Did you get the donations?
Yes, I think that's everybody.
Okay.
Am I missing anybody? No, that was everybody. All right.
So
on with social.
As you might imagine, there's a lot of Twitter and Elon Musk this week. And
Again?
he is definitely like, I think he's so much enjoying jerking them around because
he
week
likes
after
the attention.
week, yeah. And he's not wrong, because now he's saying, hey, now that I'm looking at all the under the hood and seeing what horrible squirrel's nest is in here instead of an engine, what about all these bot accounts? Because you said it was 5%, but you also lied about every other user count that you've ever done. So maybe that's a little weird.
Elon Musk says the Twitter deal is on hold until we figure out the fake account report.
I gotta try to.
But he added he's still committed to the acquisition. He just needs to know. He needs to know where the bodies are buried.
And I imagine there are a lot of bodies.
And he's also had a series of tweets where he's like, hey, are you being manipulated by the algorithm? Should you maybe leave the platform? Come back to the platform? I don't know.
Oh, someone is jumping the gun.
Yep.
But let's take a look at that tweet here.
Oh, here's a tweet. Very important to fix your Twitter feed. Tap the home button, tap the stars in the upper right of the screen, select latest tweets. It'll work for a little while, and then eventually Twitter will change it back, because obviously you didn't mean to do that.
Until he comes along, maybe, and removes it. I don't know. We'll see. But he made another just crazy announcement, and you know this drove people crazy. We have talked about this before. It's probably not going to happen, but it could, and that is enough of a threat to make people furious.
Bloomberg says that on the Trump Twitter ban, I would reverse the permanent ban. No one should be banned permanently. He's not exactly wrong. I mean, don't you think it would be better to let people say insane things and have people have a better ability to suss out what is sane and what is insane?
You know, I was listening to somebody talking about this latest supermarket shooting, and her quote was, "We will drive these people back into their holes." And I'm sitting there thinking, like, isn't that probably what caused this?
Yeah, that's definitely what caused it.
Do we really want to alienate these people more?
Also, I don't know if I believe Musk saying I don't want anyone to have permanent bans, because you know he's going to ban that kid who tracks his flights.
I don't think he'll be able to get away with that. I think he knows at least enough not to do that.
I don't know.
Maybe not. I don't know. He's done some
You'd
crazy
think he
stuff.
also wouldn't tweet stuff about, 420 and shares and blah, blah, blah. But
I think
he's done that.
I don't know. I think that builds his legend. I think some people like that. Certainly the people buying Teslas. I think like
He also slept with Amber Heard, so.
Krista, there is something irresistibly attractive about a beautiful woman who is out of her mind. I don't understand what it is, but I'm afflicted by it too. So.
See also Crazy Eyes.
Elizabeth Holmes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. For sure. Yeah.
I'm Elizabeth.
Just a really deep voice.
I would even deal with the deep voice. I'd be cracking up all the time and just be like, what? What is it?
She probably wouldn't talk around like that around you. She was doing that to
Krista, she wouldn't talk at all around me because I don't allow women to talk. That's hyperbole.
Someone in the comments can be like, no, really though.
And so Trump actually had a lawsuit against the Twitter ban, him and a bunch of other people that got banned. And I think this judge just was looking at what's going on now and it's saying, don't insult my court with this nonsense, which I think is right.
Judge dismisses Trump lawsuit seeking to lift Twitter ban. Obviously.
Doesn't matter. He's back if he wants to. He doesn't want to. Although, did you see the meme that he posted about the great MAGA king? He took the Aragorn Lord of the Rings poster, but it's him. And it says the return of the great MAGA king. Brilliant. I imagine he didn't come up with that, but God, that was good. And the Twitter CEO, Parag Agrawal, he's definitely doing something. I don't know what he's trying to accomplish before Musk gets in there, but he is shaking things up for sure.
Twitter,
I'm so bad at that.
Twitter's CEO pushes out top execs and freezes hiring. Parag asked me to leave after letting me know that he wants to tackle the team or take the team in a different direction. Speaking of memes, I saw a meme that was the Office Space meme, and it was the Bobs, and it was like, okay, who's next? Parag, no, not gonna work here anymore. Yeah, it's like, oh, that's kind of.
You couldn't make that joke in modern movies, could you?
No, that would not be allowed.
Well, another thing that's not going to be allowed is fun on TikTok. Why is it not allowed? Why can we not poke fun at things? Well, because even though this woman is almost certainly lying and almost certainly trying to destroy a man's life for her own gain, it's not allowed because you're never allowed to question domestic violence in any format.
Rolling Stone has the headline, demoralizing, demeaning. A gross TikTok trend mocking Amber Heard is going viral.
And
what is the actual
this video is so hilarious.
I forgot you sent this to us last week.
Because it's just using a cat. They're using audio from the trial and one cat dressed alternately as Amber and Johnny. And the Johnny dress up, I won't spoil it here. You got to go watch it. It's only about 20 seconds, I think. So good, but of course that is against women and evil. So, oh no,
it's already gone.
They took it down.
I'm sure that it's on YouTube somewhere.
Yeah, it's already been reshared and copied and pasted about 50 times.
Oh, and they had an example of another one gone.
Wow.
Maybe this is just the browser. I don't know. I don't care enough to click. If you can find it, watch it. It's great.
What a weird timeline we live in with that. People are recreating court cases with their cats.
And we've done a lot of stories recently about the horrors of like air tags and tracking and stuff like that. We actually have more to talk about in the security section about that. I think someone at Facebook said, oh, wait a minute. That's really bad. Maybe we should fix that before something terrible happens.
Facebook to discontinue nearby friends and other location-based features. So this has been going on forever. Facebook, if it can't find any other connections, it'll just look for people that are physically near you and say, hey, do you know this person? Do you know this person? Hey, do you know this person?
Go talk to them so we can add them as a friend.
There was an app years ago when I was in college called Foursquare that was really popular and people would check in at places. And I remember even then thinking that was strange.
Yeah. That'll get you stalked.
Yeah.
For sure. Maybe you don't want to do that. We have recently witnessed the whole thing between Australia and Facebook where they were playing that game of chicken, where Australia was saying, well, maybe you should just leave Australia, Facebook. And Facebook's like, maybe we will. Neither was really willing to let that happen. So they reconciled. But on the run up to that, Facebook made some weird decisions.
Facebook caused chaos to put pressure on Australian lawmakers, a report says. Some internal folks at Facebook have come forward and said Facebook preemptively blocked not only news sites, but also ambulance sites and schools and some other stuff.
Any kind of government announcement.
To try to create chaos ahead of this law saying that Facebook is going to have to pay to syndicate news.
How about the fact that we're running our ambulances through Facebook? That could be an issue. I can think of maybe a better way to do that.
Were they actually running it, or was it like...
They were making announcements. And
yeah.
Somehow it disrupted them enough to affect things. So.
I mean, a lot of that stuff still gets announced on the radio and on TV, but I mean, a lot of people don't have those anymore. So they get their news through Facebook.
Which is terrifying. And this is becoming a very common story now. All the big tech companies seem to be onto this new trend.
Facebook has told that, Facebook owner Meta tells the hardware staffers to prepare for cutbacks. I thought this meant, layoffs are coming for hardware, which is really weird because last week we reported on the whole hardware division and they were really excited for augmented reality, blah, blah, blah. Meta was very careful to say this is not going to be layoffs, but we don't have the money to fund all these projects. So we're going to have to pick projects. You think the virtual reality fencing's on the chopping block? I think that's going to be the first thing to go.
I mean, they sold that pretty heavily.
We can't afford that.
I think this was also the interview where he said that it could take up to a decade for the metaverse to bear fruit. I don't think people will stay on the hook for a decade, do you?
I don't think so either.
And NFTs, much like Twitch drops, they just continue to happen even though there's always a huge backlash and people hate it. But I guess this is the future, right? So we can't stop it.
Instagram to start testing NFTs with select creators this week.
Yay.
More drops. Watch this person so that you can have things. That's the world we live in.
Except
now.
you don't even have this.
We'd like to welcome any NFT venture capital. And our final follow-up in the social section, and this has to do with the irresponsible airplane flying that's been happening recently. How about we put a stop to this? The FAA says, yes, this was wrong.
The FAA revoked certificates of pilots involved in the Red Bull plane swapping stunt. We covered this last week, and it said that, but not the FAA part of it. It was 2 pilots. They were going to swap planes. One plane was successfully swapped. The other one crashed, but it was a controlled crash, and there was a parachute, but the FAA said, no, we didn't okay this. This is bad.
In fact, they revoked the permission for it at the last minute, I think. So, legitimately illegal, I guess. Always a bad idea.
Just crash a plane in a hot, dry area of the country. It's fine.
Well, there's not a whole lot to burn, I guess. Although I'm sure that whatever lived right under where that plane landed
Yeah.
would beg to differ. That's the end of social.
That's the end of the social
short
section.
social section this week.
Cool
It's mostly
Kid,
just Musk spam.
Cool Kid 7500. Thanks for the quality content. Love it. Been watching since the pre-level 1 days. Well, thank you. We're just trying to keep sane as things come unraveled apart all around us.
It's a good summary of this channel.
We can come unraveled together.
No donations?
Oh, that's fine. What's everyone saying in the chat?
I
Can't
feel
read
bad for the pilots. Here, Bill, park this plane.
Why do you feel bad for the pilots? Didn't they orchestrate this?
But they were stupid.
Or did Red Bull come up with that?
Red Bull did. Will Red Bull pay more now to those pilots? I think Red Bull should.
Red Bull will probably just drop them like flies. They're
Why-
like, oh, whatever, you're expendable to us.
Why would Red Bull pay them for failing?
Yeah.
I think, well, I mean, Red Bull's stunt coordinator had to know that something was kind of related on that. So,
I think what Red Bull knew was that this is going to get a ton of attention if they succeed, and it's going to get way more if they fail. Maybe the new slogan should be Red Bull, it gives you wings 50% of the time.
Thanks to whoever who did the Lunar Eclipse. That was me. I did the announcements. Lunar Eclipse. I also watched it last night. I thought we weren't going to be able to see it because of the rain.
I think everybody watched the Lunar Eclipse.
Infinity Squared says garden update.
Garden update. Garden's doing good. I have got a lot of stuff out right now. Got tomatoes, cucumbers, radishes. The radishes need to be pulled. Potatoes are coming up. My grapevines are coming up. Lots of blueberry plants. Everything's doing solid right now. Onions.
Somebody with a really funny name says Wendell Sane. Good joke. Is that an Austin Powers name? Because I watched the Pentaveret, and that was pretty good. If you like things.
Can you not say the name?
I can't hardly read it.
See it?
Oh, that'll get us demonetized. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was an Austin Powers joke.
Yeah, it was me and you and Austin Powers. But if you're an Austin Powers fan and you haven't seen the Pentaveret, well, that's still not worth subscribing to Netflix for. I don't know. You can probably find it online.
Sure, if you look hard. Are we ready for security?
We're ready for the security section.
Our first story is a tragedy, I suppose. You have to wonder how much trouble they were already in. I think the pandemic set this up. But ransomware hits a university. We've heard that story a lot of times. But the ending here,
Yeah.
the ending of this tale is what's unique.
Illinois college hit by ransomware attack to shut down. Lincoln College in Illinois, founded in 1865. Their enrollment's been down because of the global situation. They were hit by ransomware a couple of months ago. They're struggling to recover a little bit. They don't have enrollment or tracking or anything. They're just going to close up.
They didn't have backups of anything.
Just going to shut down. Well, I mean, they're chronically underfunded. So
Yeah.
They said that we could put it back together, but we crunched the numbers. And once we do that, then we might as well just shut it down anyway. So why waste people's time?
The poor students who are already there, who are hoping to finish their degrees, are probably a little
Well,
upset.
but they're in between semesters, right? So
Yeah.
they can kind of.
They were trying to figure out if we're going to open up in the fall.
Will they even be able to get a transcript though?
That's a good question
Probably
because I
not.
think
Yeah.
they lost almost everything.
Everything, yeah. Man, and that means those students lost years of their lives.
I mean, there has to be something there, right? Do you really just lose it all?
Not sure. Apparently, if they're shutting down and they can't recover anything.
College is such a bad idea right now.
If you're the ransomware people, do you see that headline and say, well, I guess we can just give you your key back?
They just give them the transcripts but keep everything else. They're like,
And when it comes to data breaches, they're all bad and they're all inconvenient, but some of them are kind of catastrophic. If you think about certain people having access to this and how they could twist it to their own means, it's really terrifying.
Krebs on Security has the DEA is investigating a breach of a law enforcement data portal. So it turns out that the DEA was compiling reports, probably some ICE reports in there, probably some other reports.
Oh, it was every kind. It was interdepartmental.
So, yeah, it turns out that that was not properly secured. Some heads will probably not roll over this.
I think there's probably going to be some drug cartel heads that roll because they're going to find out about their competitors. And when it comes to cryptocurrency and NFTs, of course, everybody has to worry about that just going missing one day. Hey, it's gone. What happened to it? I don't know. It's just gone. Deal with it. But you hope that if you go with one of the more reputable banks, quote unquote, that won't happen. And if you read the fine print, that is not guaranteed.
Coinbase earnings were bad. What happens if Coinbase expires tomorrow? Will you lose access to your crypto? They say yes.
Because you are an unsecured creditor to Coinbase after you hand over your crypto. It's not your crypto anymore. Here's a terrifying thought. That's actually also how the banking system works. Your deposits, unsecured credit.
Theoretically, the FDIC insures you up to like 100,000 or whatever.
But there is no FDIC for crypto.
yep.
And losing your crypto, of course, we all know you got a two-factor. You got to worry about the SIM swap. Oh, the SIM swap is just terrifying because what do you do against that? You got to have good passwords, maybe even a cold wallet, whatever. But there's low-tech thievery. And that still happens. Like, okay, you want to do all those things? Well, that can still go bad if there's a gun in your face.
Crypto muggings. Thieves in London target digital investors by taking their phones. Because of course. And of course this is London.
And if you're saying, well, that's not going to affect me because I got facial recognition as my two-factor and blah, blah, blah. It didn't matter. They would just pull you into an alley, hold a knife to your throat, and unlock the phone, transfer all your crypto. Here's the best part. They always gave the phone back. We don't need that.
Well, that would, I mean, you know, they know that that's a massive, massive inconvenience.
They're criminals, not barbarians.
And this one, actually, this was on May 5th, but it's amazing that it took this long.
Google Play users in Russia can no longer update or download paid apps because of things that are currently happening in the global theater.
And Google said, hey, we'll keep updating the regular apps, but we literally cannot give us money. It can't happen. And we can't give it to you for free because then we'd have to pay the developer. So just deal with it. And this one is right here in our backyard. Oh, lovely Kentucky. And not a headline that
My
we're proud
old
of.
Kentucky.
As usual, very few Kentucky headlines are we proud of.
No.
And
bad.
certainly not this one because this is a disgusting thing to do. And how do you expect to get away with this? Seems like eventually they'd figure it out.
We've got a problem. Apple Watch helps expose contractors' alleged invasion of privacy. So, Metronet installer was installing fiber optic internet, and it's like, hey, can I borrow your phone to test the internet? Okay, sounds good. And then,
Always say no to that, by the way.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, wait a minute, all my nudes are going somewhere else.
They sent the nudes, but not to where they're supposed to
Well,
be.
she had an Apple Watch as well. So as he walked through the house in order to take those readings, her Apple Watch was like, message sent, message sent, message sent.
Ooh.
And she was like, that's weird. What phone number are these messages going out to? Turns out that was the text phone number. And there were the nudes on her phone.
And that wasn't the first time that happened either.
So I imagine he won't be installing fiber anymore.
That's just a little preview of the nonsense section.
Yeah, that could have been a good segue.
Well, I feel like that's a solid security categorization.
Huh.
And Microsoft, you know, we make the joke about their testing team, which doesn't exist. And they, week after week, do nothing to dispel that rumor.
No.
Because they just aren't testing it.
Think maybe we should do something different? No.
Nope, just keep rolling it out. Hey, it got tested, didn't it?
Microsoft recommends people uninstall the optional Windows 11 update. This update is also related to the update that was causing problems on domain controllers. So yeah, you probably should manually uninstall this May Windows update that affects mainly Windows 11, but also Windows Server. If you're having mysterious problems with Windows Server, it's the update. They didn't test it.
Bad news. And more bad news because when you go to a really big website like Amazon.com, that's not just one web server. One web server could not do that. They have these very specific appliances that balance the load. It passes it off in the data farm to various different servers. That thing is the bedrock of your network, of your web server. It's at the bottom of everything. So what if I could just give someone the admin password to it? Just anybody. Would that be bad? Yes.
Hackers are actively exploiting big IP vulnerability with a 9.8 severity rating. This is the F5. If you have an F5 load balancer and you haven't already fixed it, it's already been wormed and your configuration has been wiped. That happened really quickly.
It's
Fast.
the high severity rating.
Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah, it turns out that anybody can do it. If it's not been patched, anybody can get in.
Yeah. It's like, what do you submit for the auth token? Literally anything. It will take literally anything for the auth token. And then you're in.
And often when you are deploying malware, you have the worm or, you know, the thing that gets you in, the exploit, but then you have to get the code from somewhere else to execute because hiding that executable code is the hardest part. We've heard some really creative ways of doing this. My favorite one was Britney Spears' Instagram. That was the best one ever. But there is a perhaps harder to find, harder to ferret out way of hiding these things.
Hackers are now hiding malware in the Windows event log. Yeah, the malware payload can just be in the Windows event log. You could read the Windows event log back and then execute and go nuts.
And Windows is not going to be suspicious of you looking at the event log. No one tested that.
We did a video on sysmon. You should use sysmon to monitor the Windows event log, but you can also add more stuff to the Windows event log to monitor even more things. You should definitely do that.
Well, this headline's going to shock you. Get ready. Because this week, we had a cryptocurrency that turned out to be a scam. Oh, no. Not that one. Not that one. No. Oh, not that one either. A different one. A third one.
Mining Capital Coin CEO indicted for allegedly running a cryptocurrency pyramid scheme. This one actually got some legs underneath it. He managed to collect like $8 or $9 million.
It was maybe not the worst idea. Let's all pool our money together. I'll use that to buy mining hardware and we'll share the results of it. One big problem. He didn't buy any mining hardware.
Ouch.
I don't understand how people think that's going to end.
That they're going to have a coin that has a meteoric rise like Bitcoin and then...
Yeah, I see. Yeah. So it's just pure hopium right there.
Yeah.
And as usual, it's so cliche. This guy went out and bought the Lamborghinis and the big house and the Ferraris.
And no one had a moment of like,
Yeah.
How's he doing that? Oh, it's the crypto. Well, obviously we have to invest in that. So it's not really working out for El Salvador now, is it?
for Drake.
And Central American Drake. We need to come up with a good nickname for him.
I think it might have just been that photo, but it really did. He looked a lot like Drake.
How could we adapt Hotline Bling to be about the El Salvadoran president? And if we can incorporate the volcano, that's even better.
Oh, yeah.
So here's another credential attack. And this is a low-level administrative thing. You definitely don't want people to get into this, and they're into it.
Heroku admits that customer credentials were stolen in cyber attack. That is one of the execution platforms supported entirely by Salesforce.com. Salesforce.com bought this platform, and apparently they haven't really maintained it all that well. Ouch. A lot of people doing Ruby stuff with Heroku, but you can do a lot of other stuff with it too.
You think they regret that purchase?
No, they probably don't, but there's probably somebody that was laid off during that acquisition, and they're looking around saying, "Yeah, I knew this was coming."
Well, there's a hot new exploit, and shockingly enough, Apple, when they built the M1, they looked at everything Intel did and got terribly, terribly wrong, and they said, let's do a version of this that has more power and more possibility to fail. And sure enough, it's failed.
Apple Silicon exclusively hit with the world first Augury DMP vulnerability. This has to do with prefetching memory. So, yeah, the M1 has ridiculous amounts of memory bandwidth, but part of the reason for that may be that it's prefetching things even before it's asked for. And so, because it does that, it's possible to read from memory that you don't have access to without triggering any kind of alert or warning or anything.
And whereas Spectre had a limited scope of what it could get to, this thing can read the whole memory.
Oops. Oh man, it's almost like the company that brought you NSO Group undetectable malware in their phones that are the most locked down phones on planet Earth is now designing their own chips. What could possibly go wrong?
So much.
I mean, how does Apple not just run one single command from one single console, as locked down and comprehensive as their ecosystem is, and have a list of all the iPhones that have non-standard stuff either in memory or in the protected area of flash? How do they screw up that badly?
They talked to Microsoft about it.
I was gonna say they're going back to the office though. It'll be fixed soon.
This is going to open up a whole new vector because, I mean, the M1 is in phones and stuff too. It's going to open up a whole new set of fun things that the NSO Group can use to get into those devices, probably undetectably.
Wasn't M2 also affected?
It sure seems that way.
So it's going to be in a lot of stuff. We've been talking about the fact that the problems that GitHub is having securing things, and when you actually start to think about it and look at all the zombies and stuff on GitHub, it's really bad. And when you think about the fact that many of the domains that are on the email addresses on GitHub don't exist anymore, very scary. A researcher decided to show us how scary that could be.
Email domain for NPM library with 6 million downloads a week is grabbed by an expert to make a point. So this could happen. This is with NPM Node Package Manager. Could just as easily happen with PyPy, with Python repository, or Peckle for PHP. This could happen with literally anything.
And will.
For
sure. He chose for each, and he listed how many people would be affected if he were to destroy that. 36,826 projects. And how many of those are going to update immediately if he changes that?
Not a lot.
Less than 10,000. Yik Yak. You guys ever heard of Yik Yak?
I was just thinking about how there was some sort of bone I used to get brewed that was like yak milk. And that's what I thought of when I read the app name, but no, I've never heard of it.
Funny how similar it is to TikTok and yet not as attractive for some reason in my mind.
You really do seem to have to get in on like the very ground floor. Get there before anybody else.
But the Yik Yak, their big selling point was like it doesn't stay and it's totally anonymous. So you're just in this area with other people in this area and you can talk to them like a college campus or whatever. But there was a huge problem with that anonymity.
Anonymous social media app Yik Yak exposed users' precise locations, because of course it did. It was actually a plant by the CIA. No, I'm making up that last part.
But
it sure feels like that, doesn't it?
That's editorializing.
Remember, you'll be anonymous inside the app.
Except it's got your exact location at an exact time.
And
they can pull you from the Kroger surveillance.
And device ID.
Yeah.
You pair that with one cell tower, and you are de-anonymized immediately.
Oops.
And it isn't just the email domains that are allowed to let lapse. It turns out the App Store is a crumbling ruin.
Research finds over 1.5 million quote-unquote abandoned mobile apps. This story came about because of a story we reported last week that said that Apple is going to start booting out apps that are not compiled with a recent version of Xcode, and they need a compile with a recent version of Xcode 1 to solve some security issues, 2 to update for platform changes to the overall macOS platform and the Apple platform, probably also to support mobile apps on like laptops and desktops, better support on tablets. They're not really talking about that. That's just a guess. A lot of reasons. Expiring certificates. Nobody's done that. And so Apple's kind of backed off a little bit, but this researcher is like, well, let's see how many apps we're going to lose. It was a lot.
That's a lot.
Think they'll change their mind about that? I mean, they got to do something that's more ticking time bombs, and these headlines are already terrible.
Yeah, really.
And week after week.
Carbon's right. NOK 20. Congress open hearings for UFO tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern. Yes.
Oh.
PH Gamer, they should have paper copies of the student records. Yeah, probably. Vanessa Stellar, thank you again for your content. Last super chat for a while. Unemployment begins in June. As much as I love Ohio, looking for a project or data management role between Knoxville and Cumberland, Kentucky.
I got news for you. That is not the best use of your limited funds.
We appreciate it, though.
If you can refund that, you probably should.
Maybe it was for an ad. It was like, I'm looking for a job between Knoxville and Cumberland for data or project management.
We're not exactly job placement. Maybe somebody else in the chat.
Go to the forum. There are there's a job section there.
Alex Chambers, $49.99. Thanks for what you do. Persuaded me to pursue a career in cybersecurity as a dev. Good work.
How's that going?
Sky's the limit, probably in terms of salary, especially if you're good at stuff. USS Liberty incident, that Coinbase unsecured credit card issue is why people should keep up hardware wallets and use Monero. Trust no banks.
Yeah, I'm thinking I might have to move my stuff out of Coinbase now.
Gizmo, 20 pounds. You all add Ace commentary to the news. Thank you. I don't know about Ace, but it's okay. Tastes Like Tofu says, enjoy the live stream while I'm in the waiting room of the cancer center while my wife gets her chemo treatment. Well, I hope she gets her chemo and it goes as well as it can.
That's dark. Ready for 4 robot stories, 2 of which are space?
4 robot stories, and...
Are they all 4? Oh, yeah, they are.
Are we going to do nonsense at the same time, or just the 4? Oh, no, it's just the 4.
Yeah, there's just 4 for robot.
4 robot stories.
I did them separately, but, I thought there would be more downtime in between.
Was it somebody on one of our Twitch streams was really like researching Flippy hardcore because they were like, "There's no way that Flippy's in use," and it was like,
"No, I think it is. I think White Castle uses it."
Yeah, the White Castle's very happy.
Why do they find that hard to believe?
I don't know. In looking at the follow up from that, not only is it Flippy making burgers, it's apparently also making a couple other things.
Chips. We covered the chips.
No, I mean for White Castle, like the same Flippy just had a firmware update and now it does something else.
No, it could always do the chicken as well.
Yeah,
and I think they added one more thing.
Yeah, and so it's already gone beyond its mission parameters, and so White Castle is like, we'll take 1 million.
Don't talk bad about Flippy.
Not in this chat.
All right, so first robot story, and as much fun as Mr. Musk is having, gallivanting all over social media,
it's the tortoise and the hare,
being the richest
AI
man.
edition.
He has not been the first to reach this milestone, and I'm sure that eats at him at night.
Mercedes Drive Pilot Level 3 autonomous tech officially on sale in Germany. So Level 3 autonomous driving is basically highway driving. It can do maneuvering. It'll try not to, though. It'll keep pace with traffic. It can avoid weird things. If you've got an overturned semi, for example, it'll stop for that. Can't always say that about autopilot. But this is pretty good progress for a non-Tesla company.
Importantly, that is also still not full self-driving, just like Tesla. That's not what that is. Also, look at that dashboard.
With that giant
I hate
screen
that.
on it.
Oh, it's so bad.
That is annoying to probably navigate while you're trying to actually drive.
And that car is going to be way more than 100,000, right? Look at that.
I don't know. Just get you point A to point B. That's all I look for in a car.
Now, if you are like some of us and a bit of a dissident and not very happy with how things are being run and maybe vocal about it, this is a story that should mean a lot to you because this is probably how you're going to die.
The video is incredible.
Swarming drones autonomously navigate a dense forest and chase a human. Now, the only cheating they did in this, as far as I can tell, is they had the human pick the most loudest, ridiculous shirt possible. So it was very easy for the drones to lock onto, but it is something out of a horror movie.
But a Dayglow paintball gun, the drones could fix that themselves.
Yeah, that's true.
Although I guess if they're close enough to take that shot, they'll just use the 308 instead.
I also kind of have to take offense at the term dense forest here, because there's a lot of trees, but they clearly haven't been any forests around here where it's just really thick undergrowth.
Maybe they just meant that forest was stupid.
Yeah, it's a stupid forest. This is a terrifying video, though.
Well,
Just check
Chris,
it out.
you'll probably be hiking at some point, and they'll be training the drones in the dense forest.
And I'll have to like run down the trail with my backpack on.
That was also a Chinese research video, so it's kind of like.
What are you guys developing that for?
Wonder why they would be developing that.
Mm.
Did you see the video of the in Shanghai? They had one of those factories where everybody was just sleeping at the factory so they could keep working, and they were doing the mass testing. And as soon as somebody hit the temperature gun and triggered it, everybody was like, "Not me!" And they all broke and ran at the same time and escaped.
Wow.
Because they know that what's going to happen to them is probably going to be near death in a quarantine center. Better take your chances, right? And we now have this beautiful monstrosity floating in our skies. It is fully transformed. It is not fully calibrated, but even in this unprepared state, it is returning some stunning
looks
images.
great.
NASA releases ridiculously sharp Webb telescope
You
images.
should scroll down so they can see some of those. Because they show like the before and after. Look at that.
Beautiful. The lens flares are so multifaceted because of all those honeycombs.
They're so far away. So many photons.
That's kind of a positive story, I think.
Some of those photons traveled like 10 billion years.
And boy, are their arms tired. And then, of course, we have the black hole story, because everybody who read this headline who watches Level 1 News must have thought of Krista.
I get black hole stories sent to me on Twitter, usually at least once or twice a week.
This was one of the first stories in the list for this week, wasn't it?
When you, Krista, like every week we find out that they're closer and closer, how do you feel to know that one is right here in this galaxy?
It doesn't
with
make
you?
me feel good.
It's here, and it's been hidden all along, waiting to pounce. And now that we've discovered it, I think it's going to attack.
The Milky Way's black hole comes to light. I actually got paywalled from this particular article, so I didn't get to see the whole details.
Comes to light is an interesting way of putting it, because there is no light, of course. We're
It
just
sucks
looking at the
everything in.
absence, but it's kind of like a donut shape.
Yeah. Well, the same software that the girl used with her research, her PhD thesis or whatever, we used the same technique, I guess, or a similar technique to image the Milky Way's black hole. So it had a lot of similar properties.
But it's been there, Krista, this whole time. The whole time you've been growing up, living your life, not knowing anything about it, it's just been devouring, getting ready.
What if my life would have been better if it wasn't there?
Probably the Milky Way would be less cohesive, right? Like it would be a little bit more mechanically problematic.
Do you
We should
think-
simulate that.
Could it have stopped the Trump presidency?
Obviously.
PH Gamer gave us another $5. It says, lol, Dr. Robotnik's drones from the Sonic movie are real. Yeah, basically. James Beanie, first live stream, hello from the UK. Yes, it's
Hello.
a mess here. Brexit is not going well. I couldn't tell.
Things aren't going well here either.
Yeah, I don't.
I don't think anybody's having a good time right now.
No.
Have you priced a gallon of milk lately? You're going to have to use that buy now, pay later thing to
To buy milk.
get groceries.
Zezzle. Can I zezzle some rice?
Start buying now.
Gonna have to write a little AI that'll negotiate the price of rice and beans in the spot market for you to try to save a few bucks.
That'll be the next big thing, right? Eat now, pay later.
And now nonsense.
The home
Now
stretch chat.
nonsense.
So much nonsense.
349. Actually, we did this pretty quickly.
Yeah.
We expected this to take a lot longer.
I didn't think we had that many stories this week. You were like, oh, there's a lot. But I didn't think it was
It
too
was
bad.
more than usual.
Really?
Yeah, way more than usual. Well, let's get some F's in the chat, can we? The death.
Big F.
The death of the legend.
The iPod is dead. Apple's finally not making the iPod. They never even updated it for the M1, did they? It was just there was some in a back room somewhere, and they finally sold the last one. They're like, all right, it's dead.
I got my mom an iPod like 4 or 5 years ago. She still uses it, but I don't think most people do. I use my phone for music now.
Here's the more important question. How long will it take in the secondary market, like in Ghana, how long will they be trading iPhones?
A long
You
time.
think it'll take another 10 years, 20?
The original iPod that has the compact flash, those are actually pretty sought after because people are putting enormous compact flash cards in, or enormous like flash storage, like a terabyte, and upgraded battery packs. And so like that is, if you have a huge music collection, that's still pretty much like the thing.
Yeah, but it's not going to store as much music as Spotify, is it?
Yeah, but what if you're in Ghana? You're not going to be getting that from the internet.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
To download all your playlists.
And Activision, I think Activision, they understand that something is wrong, but that corporate culture, like they can't put their finger on it. They're like, I don't really understand what these plebs keep complaining about. We gave them NFTs, and then they turned on it. And then we gave them a new Overwatch game that's actually the same game, and somehow
They're still
And
upset about
remove the
that.
slot.
We're still upset about that guy. Like, what did he even do?
yeah, there was some molestation. I mean, come on.
Sometimes you play night crawlers under your desk.
Sometimes you do that. And so they keep, like, there's a whiteboard, and they've been marking through idea after idea, and now they came to this one, which is an interesting one.
Activision inexplicably introduces a tool to rate character diversity metrics. This feels like an episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
It really does.
But they reported, when some people pushed back about this, and some of the journalists were like, really, you think this is a good idea? And they were sort of incredulous and like, well, we've already rolled this out to like 2 or 3 studios. They love it. They're all about it. I think they're all about trying to keep their job.
You got to see the scatter plot though. Like it's like
this
what
thing up here.
Yeah. It's like, what are we talking about exactly?
So they explained you start at 0. The very middle there is a score of 0. That's a white male. So if you're a white male, you fail. Then you have to start adding on, and you get points for this chart here.
So what you're telling me is the 3 featured Overwatch characters here are all uncultured swine.
Well, not Lucio, right?
Lucia's from Brazil.
Lucio gets a point for his ethnicity. Pink hair girl gets gender identity. Oh, wait a minute. Well,
No, she doesn't. Well, I guess it's just because she's female.
Well, she's the one is on her. See,
Yeah, but she's not gay in the lore, as far as we know.
Wait,
That's
is
Zarya.
her body type? Wait, why doesn't the dwarf get a body type? He's a dwarf, right?
Yeah. Well,
but he's not a.
he's just a short dude.
Yeah, he's not a medical dwarf. Oh, is he not like an actual like fictitious dwarf?
No. He's just he's an engineer, and his daughter's in the game as well.
So these are supposed to be realistic, somewhat.
Well,
why
I mean,
is,
they
why
have
is the
stories.
sniper purple?
They genetically modified her to have no emotions. Is this backstory?
Okay.
That seems like
And somehow
a lot
that
of
turned her
suffering.
purple.
Yeah. Was it the
I'm
amount
not saying it's good writing, but
the amount of suffering as a result? Wow, the people that originally came up with these characters in the beginning is just like, oh,
They're probably thinking we tried pretty hard. I mean, it's pretty diverse.
so people really latched on to the pilot episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation with the dudes wearing the dresses too. I don't know. I mean, that's fine, but
Well, if you think about history, I think the pants were better than the dresses, right? Because we wore dresses for a long time,
yeah.
and pants were simply just you had to gird your loins.
The naval dress uniform in like the 1830s was a dress, just like Star Trek. That's what it was a callback to.
But then it turns out if you're having a nice little ceremony and somebody starts dropping bombs on it, running is a good thing. And also protecting your genitals. That's a weak area.
I'd say if you're just doing some relaxing, a dress and or skirt is more comfortable. Certainly when it's hot.
I would think so.
Yeah. So it depends on what you're doing that day.
Well, here's a bizarre. Do you have any idea about what would motivate this? Is this just
Trolls?
chaos, or are you trying to get on social media, whatever? I can't imagine why you would do it, but I also don't know if I agree that this is a crime, because you're not really threatening anybody. But they did say that the snowflakes on this jet, like people were passing out and vomiting from fear.
Yeah, I saw that.
And I don't understand that either.
Israel arrests 9 for quote-unquote airdrop of crash images aboard plane. So somebody was trolling with their iPhone, and it really upset a lot of
9
people.
people.
Yeah.
So this was organized. Also, why would you have airdrop on by default?
Yeah, I don't understand why you would accept an airdrop from people you don't know.
If
but
you're so sensitive that you pass out by seeing photos of plane wreckage, why would you have airdrop on ever?
it is weird. Like can't imagine why you would do that because you know you're gonna get in trouble. But
Krista, I think you have your finger most on the pulse of youth culture among the three of
I'll
us.
say at this table, that's a big
Right.
big asterisk.
And I'm not saying that because you are a part of youth culture, but you seem to have family members who
Yeah.
are any of them into this game?
Assassin's game. They've never mentioned it. If they are,
Well, they might just not be mentioning it because you're not the cool aunt anymore, Krista.
yeah, also possible.
Yeah.
High schoolers warned against playing Assassin's game. I have no idea what this is.
So, well, actually, it turns out that the Assassin's game is something that we all played as kids.
Yes.
It's water pistols.
Yeah.
Just water pistols.
Just
That's it?
you hide and you hit somebody with a water pistol. Yeah. Notice how they have no problem with night crawlers.
Did they say that?
They didn't say anything about night crawlers at all.
Well, I don't know. That's a viral challenge. Well, I mean, middle schoolers are definitely playing night crawlers.
Yeah.
I don't think they know that they're playing night crawlers. I think they're just doing what nature tells them to do.
Listen, if this is not okay, the other thing is also not okay.
The argument here is that sneaking around with water pistols could scare people into thinking that you're sneaking around with a gun. And unfortunately, we live in a world where that could be the case. And someone will kill you.
I guess. I got in trouble once when I was in middle school. We were playing with water guns and we were shooting cars as they went by, like hiding in the brush. Someone had their window down. They stopped, turned around, got my friend's dad out of the house. It was like some kids just shot my car. My friend Matt got in a lot of trouble. Sorry, Matt.
Oops.
You're probably lucky that Matt didn't get a 9mm returned.
Yeah. I mean, we lived in a decent neighborhood,
It's a
so
dumb thing to do.
person was mad, but not that mad.
Next time it should be bees. You should have a pistol that shoots bees, and
The
it's plausible
people's house.
deniability.
You know, I don't think the bee would survive that.
Yeah.
You're
But it was
shooting
funny 'cause-
dead bees.
We saw the car like go up the hill and then it stopped and everyone was just like, scatter! And just started running.
Where did you run to?
I ran all the way back to my house. I was like, I'm out.
Oh, so you didn't find out till later. Did somebody call your mom?
No, I don't think my mom might not have
You
found
got
out.
away with it?
Yeah. Well,
disgusting.
Matt didn't, but I did.
Wow, you let Matt catch that whole
He
rat?
took the heat. Well, because they
Also-
went to his house because we were outside of his house.
Also, Matt was not a rat. You should call him up and be like, listen, man, I was just thinking
No,
about like,
he was a great guy, great
Yeah,
friend.
you should find him on Facebook and be like, listen, man, I really
I'm
respect you keeping your
It's
mouth
not,
shut.
yeah, you're not a snitch.
Well, I play a lot of indie games, and some of them are, quite obscure. We have a term of endearment. We call them Aspie games. But even I don't get into the spreadsheets. I remember when I was playing Stardew Valley, which is not an Aspie game, but some people play it that way, and some people were like, "No, dude, you got to get the strawberries. Look at the spreadsheet." And I was like, "No." That's
My husband's kind of a spreadsheet sort
Yeah.
of person with different games.
That's not what I'm looking to experience here. That does not give me endorphins. I use spreadsheets commonly. They never make me happy.
No.
And so that I don't understand this one, but it is impressive.
EVE Online fans literally cheer Microsoft Excel features at annual FanFest.
This is like reading that headline is the epitome of touch grass.
So Excel is going to start letting it's going to create a JavaScript API, which EVE Online is going to be able to go in and literally write all of your stats directly to your spreadsheet. Gaming, folks. That's gaming.
I mean, it kind of is.
I can't say a whole lot because I used to look at my Overwatch stats, but the people did that with websites. I never made a spreadsheet.
The last time I did that and was really earnestly trying to figure out something was in NetHack Plus, because it was like the way the stats were combining. I thought there was a bug or something, but it was perfectly correct.
You're just bad.
Yeah,
Just bad at it.
pretty much.
Well, Dolly Parton, man. Dolly Parton, I think she's doing a really good job of aging gracefully, and she hasn't made anybody mad. She hasn't been Me Too'd. We haven't found out that she's slave laboring, have we?
I don't think so. I think she literally just has that park.
Have we had the
That was-
Dollywood employees come out and say that she beats them or something?
I don't think
She's
so.
doing pretty good, and she's still managing to stay somewhat relevant. She's on social media, and she got herself a nice job by being aware of this marketing campaign that's going on.
Dolly Parton to star in a musical on TikTok about Taco Bell's Mexican pizza return. We too have fallen into whatever this is
This is a marketing campaign.
and
Yeah.
are promoting the return of Taco Bell's Mexican pizza, which it can now return now that the global situation is changing or whatever. But we need Dolly Parton as a herald to bring forth the future of,
So we got a script, and Dolly tweeted this. She said it's real, and she is a part of it.
I don't understand. Like, I like Dolly Parton. Don't get me wrong. But, like, why Dolly Parton for Taco Bell?
We would not be talking about this if it was Gary Busey.
It's because she tweeted, and she said she liked the Mexican pizza, which makes me think that she either really likes the Mexican pizza, which I kind of doubt Dolly's eating a lot of Taco Bell.
Yeah, I feel like that's all part of the PR stuff.
Yeah, I think they probably hired her to do all this.
Yeah. But I'm thinking from, if you are the PR firm who's like, we need to promote new Taco Bell products, why would you think Dolly Parton before anybody
Maybe
else?
she did actually tweet positively about Taco Bell at some point in the past, and they knew that she liked it.
Maybe.
Or maybe they served Taco Bell at Dollywood.
Demographic overlap.
Or I was going to say maybe Appalachian people really like
That's true.
Taco Bell. So they're like, we got to promote it to our biggest supporters.
Low quality food that will kill you. We do love
That's
that.
on brand.
Yeah, we like that. Well, sales, you can almost find everything on sale these days. They have all these wonderful services because they're desperate for your business, and they will. I mean, paying full price for things is usually a bad idea, but some industries traditionally have operated on their reputation and, like the things they can do for you. They don't have to give you discounts because they have all this goodwill. People believe in them. But now they don't. So what do you do?
Upskilling trend brings coupons and flash sales and other marketing gimmicks to higher education.
Yeah, man, it's such a stupid thing to do. I mean, it really shows desperation if you have to offer a sale like that. How much can they get off of a Linode?
$100 off of
Yeah,
Linode.
Great.
So, I mean, I want to see when Harvard is doing this. It's like, get $20,000 off your Ivy League education for the next 4 hours only.
They probably have like a thing where you pay more because it's a status thing.
Yeah, when Harvard is demanding the Activision style diversity graph, and it's like, filled out this diversity graph so we know where you are, and this is going to determine your admittance fee. That's going to be it's probably already here.
One thing Linode will not do, actually, Linode will not teach you anything. It's up to you to learn on your own. They'll give you some great tools for doing that. But one thing they also don't guarantee, and you should be always wary of any school that guarantees, job placement.
Yes.
Because that's not a thing that they guarantee ever.
There's some really good threads on the Level 1 forum about people that have fallen into that and then not had a great time. Learn from them so that they may serve as an example.
Taste their bitter tears and gain knowledge. Well, the big great reset, the meme is we're all going to live in pods, we're going to eat bugs, and we're going to be happy by not owning anything. And that seems like a ridiculous, the way we live now, it could never get to that, right? I mean, that's just not where we live in. That's a meme. And then you see this.
And you start to feel a little bit nervous.
Amid Bay Area housing crisis, tiny bunk bed pods offered for $800 a month. So there's 10 in this picture, which means this one room is generating $8,000 a month in rental income.
That makes me furious.
In all of my years living in apartments, I never paid more than $800 a month.
We paid close to for our old apartment before we got a house.
My stomach is doing somersaults. Just like, how is that one room generate? Like, the plumbing system for that house can't handle 10 people in a pod like that. There's all these other considerations.
Yeah,
It
they
just makes
didn't-
me sad to think about. Like, imagine living your life in a little box like that.
They didn't really cover what the community areas were. Obviously you don't spend all your time in here.
Yeah, but the toilet, I promise you, even if you've got 4-inch diameter plumbing, it can't handle that many people in that small of an area.
You know who should get into the pod living business? Buc-ee's.
You get a free bag of beef jerky every day.
And beaver nuggets, which really makes you use that bathroom to its full extent. Yeah, that's just, it's so terrifying. I watched some of those videos about the Japanese capsule hotels. Some of those hotels actually are interesting because everything is free.
Huh.
So you can literally have a weird little life. And it's like $40 a night.
Not 800 for a month.
$40 a night, that is more than 800 a month.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna pay way more. So move to Japan. Live in a capsule hotel.
Well, either way, that's just too little space.
Madonna is 63. You gotta admit, she's holding it together for 63. Now I know there's
Have you
probably.
seen photos of her unfiltered?
Oh no. Well, I
Oh,
mean, this is
she's-
her on stage. I'm just looking at this. You think this is doctored?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Photos and videos of her that are not doctored,
One of the
something strange is happening.
things I definitely noticed when I watched these NFTs is that the digital representation in the NFT doesn't really look much like the Madonna.
No, she's had a lot of work done.
It looks like computer graphics from the 90s.
It's not well done. None of it is well done, but I guess it's popular maybe.
Madonna has given, quote unquote, a lot of thought to the fully nude NFTs of her giving birth to centipedes. It's not organic centipedes either, it's robot centipedes, because that's definitely not a specific fetish.
Now we can't show you a ton of this. I guess we can show you this part. There's no nipples here. But again, look at that face back there. Those lips, that looks nothing like her.
No, she's had a lot of fillers and and she also uses a lot of filters.
You're going to have to use the link on the Level 1 forum if you want to check this one out. But it's disturbing. It'll be with you the rest of the day.
And in fact, it's 3 different NFTs.
You'll feel a little unclean.
One with the centipedes, one with the tree, and one with, what was it? But all things coming out of her vagina. That's the theme.
There's also an interview, and she explains her rationale, and I'm a worse person for having watched that.
I feel a little dirty thinking about it.
Well, okay, Krista. So you say that Madonna, behind the filters is just a hideous crone. She's like the red lady from Game of Thrones.
Maybe, I mean,
She takes off her makeup at night and she hobbles over to the bed.
yeah, I've seen some posts about this is what Madonna looks like without all the filters, and it's like,
What?
this is all a lot of plastic surgery.
What about Tom Cruise? Because he's in full-length movies. Do they filter every frame?
Yes.
Oh, they
Yes,
probably
that's
can't do
actually
that,
that's
right?
a thing. Yeah.
Probably that AI.
Sandra Bullock has that clause in her contract. A lot of them do.
I saw a new movie came out of her like being a romance writer trapped in a jungle somewhere. And it
The
was like-
poster's awful. Both of them look awful in that.
and it's like, why is she really
Oh no!
potential spam?
Definitely spam.
Bing. No, but that's actually absolutely a thing that a lot of big Hollywood actors do. They put a clause in their contract
Wow.
about filter me so I look good in this film.
He does, and we see the screenshots of this. He does not look his age for sure.
No, they're probably filtered.
But it's not his filtering that we're worried about here. It's the plane. It's so much harder to do it this way.
Hypersonic jet piloted by Tom Cruise in the upcoming Top Gun movie looked so real and scary that China actually moved its spy satellite to get a different route to get a photograph of it.
That's from the U.S. military.
It was a prop plane. They've got a picture of it, but it really did fly, and it was effective. Not as a spy plane, but like as a movie prop.
Enough that a foreign government got a little freaked out.
Yeah.
So they actually went to the people who did the Blackbird, and they got them to design this fake airplane here. So it looks real. And there's Tom. You think that's filtered, Krista? Look at that jawline.
Yes. I don't trust any photos or videos from Hollywood anymore.
Is this Tom looking at young Tom?
Yep.
Wow, and he looks the same.
Yeah, it's fake. Like, even if they show a little bit of his age, it's probably been blurred and smoothed a little bit.
I read the synopsis of the movie, and it's supposed to be 30 years after the original.
Yeah. This movie's been in delay forever and ever and ever and ever. They've had plenty of time to get it right.
Reviews are good. I don't know if I care that much about it. I'll watch it.
Are the reviews good from actual people, or is that news
It's
places?
the same people that gave those glowing Overwatch reviews.
Yeah, people paid for it.
The special effects are probably going to be really good because, I mean, the thing really does fly. And when you take something that's real and then you add even more CGI on top of it, that usually comes out pretty good.
Is Madonna real?
Oh, I mean,
At this point, can we be sure? Now, we've seen a lot of stories where A young man is still living with his parents. And let me tell you, after all of the police interrogations I've watched recently, if you've got like a 20-something son living at your house, that is a murder risk. Those guys, they will kill you. But this is the opposite direction, because we've seen lawsuits where it's like, hey, you can't kick me out of the house. You owe me. You created me. You have to take care of me. This is the opposite direction.
Couple longing for grandchild sues his son and wife. They don't think about us. So they were living together. It's like, well, if you're not going to have a grandkid, then you need to get out or pay us back.
Oh, no. They paid for his education as a pilot. He is now a pilot in America. But they're saying, we paid for that with the understanding that you would give us grandkids because we love kids. And now you're not doing it and you're in breach. And it's a big, let's see, how much was it? It was a crazy amount of money.
$675,000?
Yeah, $675,000. They say they paid $40,000 or $50,000 to get him through pilot school. Yeah, 47.3. And so now he owes them that much for not having kids. The quotes are just insane in this.
How do you think that they brought that up when he was like 16? They were like, listen, we'll give you this money, but only you have to sign this contract saying that you'll poop out a child.
Also, how do you sue somebody in the U.S. when you're not there? Or did he bring them here, do you think? Because it's in dollars. Did he bring them to the U.S. and set them up and they're like, no, children?
How
That's
dare
disturbing.
you?
Well, here's a spoiler. Have you finished Picard?
I have,
The whole
yeah.
season?
Chat, if you haven't watched Picard and you're planning to, this is a spoiler, so mute it or whatever. If you care, you shouldn't care.
I knew about this and I wasn't going to spoil it for you, but then somebody in the Twitch chat did.
I've seen it all.
So,
You sound so excited about it.
but don't talk about it. We are going to do our watch along, at least with episode 1, maybe with the whole season. But one of the big surprises, and I don't understand why anybody cares about this, because not only is this a character who was awful. Do you like this character?
In Next Generation?
Anything. Every episode he was on, I hated.
It's, in retrospect, it seems like he went through a little bit of suffering, because I think there's a lot of our audience that have had their own Shut Up Wesley phase, and so there's like
And
maybe
they probably should have shut up.
yeah, well, I mean, I got that, and thinking back, it's like, yeah, probably should have kept my mouth shut.
And the worst part is, of course, how are they bringing him back? Time travel? Nonsense.
No, not time travel. He's literally a traveler. That's canon.
Yeah, that's stupid. It's poorly done.
Star Trek producers fought over which new shows to get to bring back Wesley Crusher. So it turns out Wesley Crusher's exit was not through Starfleet Academy, but through, because he was a traveler. Although I think in Star Trek Nemesis, there was a scene that was shot, but it was cut, where he was in Nemesis and he somehow made it back after having been he wasn't a traveler, and then he did do the Star. I don't really know what happened. What was supposed to happen in Nemesis?
When you do time travel writing, it's always bad. Always.
Yeah.
I also don't love the trend right now in modern television where they can't just tell a linear story. They constantly have to show flashbacks and flash forwards, and then there's the current timeline. It's like, I'm just lost now.
Tarantino, when he did it, it was brilliant, but he did kind of make a terrible trend.
It's hard to, there's some people who can do it well, but it's not something you should do if you can get by telling your story another way.
Same with time travel. Now, Krista, I remember when you first adopted your dog, especially after you got married, you said that the dog was not allowed to sleep in the bed with you. Is that
That's
still the
true.
case?
And guess where she was last night?
In the bed with
In
you?
the bed, because thunderstorms came through, and then around 3 a.m., Rue was at the door going,
Oh. How many of those does Rue have to give before you give in and let her in?
It was a while, because I was like, oh, she's at the door, and then I fell back asleep, and then I woke up again because thunder boomed, and then Rue was, so then we let her in.
Now imagine that same scenario, Krista, but when you wake up in the morning, it's not a black Labrador that you have your hand around. It's in fact a foreign dog.
Oh. Tennessee couple reunites dog with owner after canine randomly crawls into their bed.
The little video is funny because the woman's expression is, "What is happening?"
This is very on brand for Rue. Like, if Rue got in someone else's house, she would absolutely try to get into their bed.
I think that's a sign of a well-loved dog.
That it just expects to
Yeah, it
go.
has no fear of anything. It's like, oh, more humans. Well, they'll serve me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they did.
Yeah, they did get him back.
Probably gave him some pets. Probably gave him some food. What a nice fun time.
It is fun when animals, understand that something they don't understand is happening, and they're like, "I need an adult."
Oh, yeah, I need a human. Come help me.
And we've always been fascinated by certain creatures and their ability to navigate. For example, geese. Amazing.
Hummingbirds do that too.
They just flap around, and there's a lot of guesses about how it works. Most people, I think, assume it's geomagnetic fields. Somehow they're able to detect those. But now we know that turtles, while they do this, they do it very poorly.
Migrating turtles don't really know where they're going, a study shows. What do? We tag them, air tag style, and we followed them. This one turtle traveled over 1,300 kilometers, intending to go about 170 kilometers.
Look at this idiot. Is that big frown is because he knows he's been caught. I don't know where I'm going, guys. You need to register. I was hoping for more turtle pics.
That's just the one.
I've been there.
Well, geese. Geese are a symbol of Canadian life. They represent them.
It is weird that geese are so mean and they represent Canada.
Such nice people.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the balance, right?
Yeah.
We're going to give this vicious animal, but you'll be nice people to offset it. Unfortunately, they come down here and we have to deal with them. And maybe one of the reasons they're so salty is this kind of treatment.
Vancouver wishes Happy Mother's Day to a goose and then replaces her eggs with infertile decoys and disposes of the other eggs. Because there are too many geese.
Sad.
That is kind of depressing because she's out there. She's like, any day now.
Oh. I've got a couple geese. Well, my neighbor has a couple geese that are just hanging out in his pond, and the ducks do not like it.
You should swap out their eggs.
With the
Freak 'em
fertile
out.
ones.
I guess they don't breed here, right? They breed there.
I don't know. Maybe we'll see some little ones in that pond soon.
Anybody know about geese?
Chat, tell us.
Oh, finally, chat. Finally, I get to enter the realms of the protected classes. I didn't think I would ever get to be a protected class, but here I am. You can never say anything bad to me again because it'll be racist.
Calling a man
I'm so
bald
bad at that.
counts as sexual harassment, a UK judge has ruled.
What was his reasoning?
His supervisor called him a bald see you next Tuesday. And he said, you understand what I'm saying there?
Yeah.
And he said, you are referencing my body. That's the same as referencing a woman's breasts. And some insane UK judge agreed with that. And so they said that's harassment. Can't do it.
It wasn't the second word that triggered it. It was the first.
No, it was
Wow.
definitely because he was because that guy doesn't have one of those.
Mm.
Yeah, it's not real, folks. And it's such a refreshing thing to be somebody who is that and get to tell you finally it's not real. It's just stupid. The same is true for fat people. That's a problem. We have it. We're allowed to say it. Or at least I am. And I've seen a lot of these kinds of stories, and they do attack these kinds of vehicles because they're ride high. Because when there's nobody in these things, they're way up there. And you can just hustle right under there. But usually these kinds of things are the lowest, like these are the most reprehensible things to rob.
Right.
Just like this situation. Oh, I left it up on the screen.
Catalytic converters stolen from St. Paul nonprofit's mobile food shelf of vehicles. So 2 of them, they're no longer operational, and the replacement parts are hard to get.
Yeah, they're expensive because they're made of platinum.
That's true of anything for cars right now.
Also,
Uh-oh, it says the mic went down.
Hello?
Muted audio? Well, it's not. Oh, yeah, it is super low. Oh, you drug. You gotta drag
what
it
do
back. The slider.
The slider under the mic.
Oh,
Oops. We're back.
We misclicked.
The chat suddenly started moving very quickly.
did they hear any of that?
No, they didn't hear anything. All you missed, chat, was the catalytic converters were stolen from St. Paul's nonprofit mobile food shelf.
Well, that's not the only thing they missed. Also, there's a river flood warning in Wilkin County.
Very important.
So
If you're in that area, be weather aware, as our local weatherman says.
we got to get a better. I guess we got to toggle a. Well, we just need to fix the audio next week.
The audio was fixed.
Because I hate clicking on this. When I mean for the transition.
Yeah,
Oh,
we
the
forgot
transition
about the
levels.
transition for
I don't know
live
what's going on there.
episodes.
Can we, you know what we should do? We should clone this scene and then rebuild it.
And see. Yeah, that's fine. All right.
Is it better?
Yeah,
chat?
everybody's happy. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
great.
you, chat.
Just in time for the last story. And this is, of course, the biggest hot topic right now for parents, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the latest shortage, baby formula. Can't get it and can't feed your baby. Well, that's a problem, right? It's not like you can just be, hey, baby, have some cornflakes, right? You can't do that. Your baby will die. So what do? You go to the source.
Utah mom is selling almost 4,000 milliliters? Liters?
Ounces.
Ounces?
Oh, we can't see because it's over.
Oh, it's all right.
Yeah, it's too small. Of breast milk as baby formula shortage continues. Yes. The baby formula shortage, I really think, is self-inflicted in the U.S. because we won't import European formula because we're apparently morons.
Now, how many ounces a day? Chris, you might know this. How many ounces a day does the baby need?
Quite a bit, I think. I don't know for certain, but like each little bottle is like 8 ounces, I think, and you have to give babies multiple bottles a day.
So we're probably looking at north of 30 ounces a day.
Maybe. I'm not sure. Whoever has an infant at home can tell us in the chat because I'm not sure.
So she says, she was not doing this because of the shortage. She just has a lot of milk.
Yeah, that's the thing. There's like milk banks.
Milk banks.
Yeah, that's literally like if you overproduce, you can give it to parents in need.
So she's been freezing it, and she's hit that 4,000 ounces, and they ask her how much she's going to sell it for. She says $1 an ounce.
Ooh.
That's $30 a day, or at least 20.
Yeah.
Who can pay that? Who could raise a child at those prices?
That's formula's expensive too. It's usually like $30-$40 a can.
How many ounces in a can?
I'm not sure, but they're not huge. Like the cans are like this big.
Is
It's
there
expensive.
any chance this is logged in to anything
I don't think
like
so.
Amazon? I'll turn it off.
Just to be sure. Don't get anyone's name.
I mean,
No, we're good. Baby formula. Now we've been getting some inflated prices right now, but personally, I'm only going to go with the Climate Pledge friendly brands. Oh wait, that's electrolyte solution. Similac, 8 ounces, pack of 24 is $70.
Yep.
But that's still way less. That's 35 cents per ounce. So you're paying that much of like a 75% markup or 70% markup.
three times the price if it's $1 an ounce.
Wow.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
USS Liberty incident says Milkies and has the Milkies emoji. Biker Chris gave us $2 and says, true to my word, thumbs up went over 400. Thank you. Scooby Snacks gave us 20 pounds, says, dear Lord, Madonna looks like a wax statue that has started to melt.
Oh yeah, you should look that up. You should look up pictures of her not filtered.
Rich Wilson gave us $10 and says, shout out to Dolly Parton and Carl for their 56th wedding anniversary at the end of the month.
Oh yeah, she's been married to the same guy since she got her career when she was like in her 20s.
That's Marilyn Manson.
That is Madonna, not filtered.
No, that is Marilyn Manson. That is a recent picture of Marilyn Manson.
I mean, I feel bad because I imagine if you've made your whole career off of your looks, like I understand the pressure that puts on you, but it is sad, I think.
Emery Votko, hopefully I got that right. $20. Been enjoying the show. Well, thank you very much.
My God. That's shocking.
That's why you should never trust any images you see from Hollywood stars, male or female. It's all filtered.
Does anybody have any questions before we go?
How did that look? She's got like a hunch in this picture.
I mean, some of these are not going to be super flattering because they're paparazzi photos, but I mean, she doesn't look like she did when she was 20 anymore, and that's fine.
It looks like that's her mom on the right.
Gingy gave us $2. I'm not going to read that. I'm sorry.
What does that have to do to your self-esteem, knowing that your whole world is fake like that?
Sometimes I don't think that some of these people do know that. Like
Yeah,
they're so removed from reality.
Was she a vampire? Are there no mirrors in her house?
Well, it's, was it? I think it was Kim Kardashian. Someone, a paparazzi, got a photo of her where like she had cellulite, and she didn't believe that it was her photo because she's only seen filtered images of herself.
That's so all the times that she does like dressing up and stuff, she doesn't turn around and look in a mirror.
I guess not.
Scooby Snacks gave us £5 and says that is Marilyn Manson.
Yeah, it looks. Oh, you know what? Let's look at that.
We got a little extra time because we went through faster, so let's just go into a weird Google rabbit hole.
Oh, chat. Come on, chat.
I don't know how to spell Marilyn Manson. Is it Ylin?
I think that's right.
I don't know. I think Marilyn Manson looks a little better actually, but it's similar.
Yeah,
Are these filtered? Oh, here we go. Here's a bad one.
It's older.
Just saying, don't trust what you see on the internet when it comes to celebrities. I would say on average, most celebrities are very good looking, but maybe not as good looking as you might think.
But not necessarily in music.
Well, don't trust any images of Tom Cruise either.
More so for women, I guess, is definitely true.
I think it's becoming very prevalent among men too.
So much down this Google rabbit hole. Really, I mean, just so much.
Well, here's our pledge, chat. Level 1 news is and always will be filter free.
Woo!
I know that shocks you.
We've really made our living off of our looks, so it's gonna really hit hard as we get older. But
It's pretty much filter free in all respects, almost all respects.
Well, there's some audio filters, but we get them terribly wrong.
yeah,
Just like the information filter. That's what the mandatory upload filters. Oh, that's not looking forward to that.
Oh, I have plenty of speech filters that I'm running right now. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. All right. Well,
Thank you, everybody.
yeah.
And until next time. Until the next time, our schedule is so messed up that we don't even have time to shoot the news. We have to do it live.
Probably not for like at least another month.
thanks for the super chats and for just